Oh man. You know what those horns mean? Yeah.
UFO Garage.
I'm feeling it already. Hey, this is another episode of UFO Garage. I'm Ben. And I'm Joe, and this is where we talk about them UFOs, aliens, and all things weird. Feeling it. Feeling it in the air tonight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man.
Yeah, there was like an abrupt stop on the tunes.
Oh, you can't hear it?
You threw me off. No, you turned it off, dude. Remember?
Can you hear it now?
I can hear it now. It
Oh,
sounds
yeah.
good. It sounds real good.
It's been working for me when I remove it. Anyway,
Because you are the key master, dude.
I'm the key master. I have many keys, tiny and small and large. There's no medium keys in existence in this specific universe.
There's no need for them, dude. There's no need for them.
Yeah,
You
well,
either need
why
big ones or small ones. Nobody's making medium-sized locks anymore,
Nobody
man.
does.
I don't know if you've heard the news lately.
It's either like you want a small inconvenience or a big one. Like you want your stuff to be like kind of safe. Like if you need to break into it, like you can still break into it,
Right.
or completely indestructible. There's no in between when it comes to safety.
Dude, I'm super excited about tonight. This is going to be friggin' awesome. We kind of been dropping the name Anomaly Archives for about a month, maybe a little bit over a month. We've got a really cool guest. He's local right here with us.
Yes.
And it's so kind of crazy, like how the whole thing happened, and we'll explain it to you guys. But Ben and I, this dude is just such a nice dude. He's such a great dude, man. Let me tell you a little story. Like, so Ben and I, we found this place called the Anomaly Archives, and you had to like message in to say what's up, and they would let you into the door, let you know that you're coming. And Ben and I were like, dude, let's do it. Right. And so we ended up heading out to this Anomaly Archives, and we met this guy, Smiles, and we were chatting with him, and we are like, hey, dude, you mind if we maybe get a little film, like, while we're there and this and that. And we didn't get a response right away. So Ben and I left the house. And as we left, he responded with, probably not today is not the best day. And Ben and I show up like two doofuses, right, with a camera and a tiny ass microphone. And we're like, hey, let's record. And he was so nice to just roll with it. And then
we didn't check the phone. We should have checked the phone for the message.
We completely missed the message, right? So then we're leaving. We get home. We're like, man, that was a lot of fun. Man, we had a great time. We got all this cool footage. And then we look at the phone and we're like, oh, damn, we just went in there like two dummies and didn't even realize it. But man, Smiles showed us around. He gave us a little tour. This place was absolutely amazing, dude. I mean, this was when we were trying to find groups and other people who were kind of involved with the UFO community and stuff like that. And just a little online Google. And honestly, that was probably one of the only things that we found locally here. So we had to check it out, man. I want to introduce y'all to this cool dude, Smiles. Let's bring him in. Smiles, how you doing, brother?
Hey, doing great, brothers. How y'all?
Good, man. Good. I'm super stoked to have you on tonight, man. I mean, before we get into it, give the people a little bit of your background. We don't really like to do bios. We'd like to let the guest explain who they are themselves, because you always do it better than we do it. We always mess it up, and we can't read very good.
Well, at first, I just want to thank y'all so much for that intro and for that video. I mean, you recounted it. You actually refreshed my memory on some of the deets as far as the phone interaction. And I remember being like, what? Like today? No, I think I was doing an orientation for volunteers who I think you can see in some of the background. But it turned out great. I'm so thankful that y'all came and did that video. I thought it was a great video, and I've gotten really good positive responses from folks. I mean, so many folks, they hear about us and they're like, what is it? And I'm like, well, I try to describe it and I do my best. But it means a lot. A picture is worth 1,000 words, man. And y'all had a lot of great pictures and your usual jovial selves, and it was a hoot. I really enjoyed it, and I'm so glad it came together, and it was right before the whole world changed, and thank goodness, y'all did that, because I wouldn't have. I mean, I've shot footage in the archive before at its previous location, but man, so I, like so many of us, have had a lifelong interest in this. I just, from a very early age, just growing up on science fiction and being exposed to science fiction and UFO stories. Shows like That's Incredible back in the day, and these TV shows that would do dramatizations of classic and old and new UFO encounters, and also just I had a pretty a proclivity for remembering my dreams as a child, and I also had a series of what I would describe as mild psychic experiences. And so between the paranormal reality of your everyday dreams and science fiction, and hearing about early UFO encounters, and going to my public school library and devouring every book on Loch Ness, on Bigfoot, on UFOs, and Forteana, and just strange phenomena, I was sold from the beginning. And that just led me down the path to where I was reading about psychic remote viewing when I was in high school in the late 80s. And then right after high school, I discovered I was working at the local Boston Public Library right downtown. And every day I was processing the new magazines and newspapers that were coming in. And lo and behold, there's this thing called the MUFON UFO Journal that I was processing. And I'm like, I mean, I knew about it, but like, hey, our local library has a subscription. Isn't that awesome? And so I'm like, there's got to be a local chapter. And so I, this would have been pre-internet. So I, found through the listings that there was a local meeting group on a monthly basis, and started attending those. And then this was like right at the birth of the abduction craze, the awakening of all these people who were reading Communion or reading Bud Hopkins' Intruders. And so pretty quickly a local abductee support group formed. And even though I'm not an experiencer, I started attending, and because I was fascinated, I still am fascinated by all these things. And it just kind of went from there. I then ended up starting my own zine, my own little magazine, using desktop publishing of the times. And that was only because I discovered other really cool zines, like this really cool, I showed y'all some of these in that video. Crash Collusion. Yeah. Crash Collusion was this crazy zine about magic, conspiracy, psychedelics, UFOs, just strange phenomena. Like one of my favorite covers, it has a picture of a toad, a psychedelic toad.
Yeah, the illustrations on those covers were so awesome.
Great stuff. And the fellow who was publishing that, we became fast friends. And he was like, "Well, it's really easy to do here. You've got a computer. Here's how you do the desktop publishing thing." So I started my own zine. I only did like 4 issues, but see, that was the thing. And like, it was already changing from this Xeroxing and cobbling together your own print magazine to the freaking internet. And so like by 94, 95, it's like, well, I have to have a website for this thing, and then we're off to the races, and it's a whole new world. So that's kind of the early stages. I eventually ended up leading that local MUFON group. I ended up leading that local abductee support group. When its leader moved away, she got the call, man, like something told her, go west. And so she was like, we asked the group members, are you okay with a non-abductee leading the group? And they all agreed. And so I took it over for, it was almost 10 years maybe. And at its height, we were having like two meetings a month at local, meeting spaces, mostly public libraries, typically.
Yeah.
And then by 2000, by 99, 2000, 2001, the then longest running UFO conference, the National UFO Conference, NUFOC, was first in San Antonio. Then it was in Corpus Christi, and they never stayed in the same state. It was always moving around, but somehow 2 in a row, Texas. And
That's awesome.
It's
I
big,
got
you know?
well, you know,
You got the
Texas,
room.
right? So I was offered the opportunity to host it, and I took that offer, and it was going to be 3 days and 3 nights of UFO lectures, cryptozoology talks, movies, and music, all at the original Alamo Draft House. But as some of you already know, the sad twist in this story was that, you know, when it was scheduled for September 14th, 15th, and 16th of 2001. So the Tuesday before, the world changed again, and the terrible tragedy happened, and all the planes were grounded, so none of my speakers could get here. I couldn't get them from across the country, couldn't get them from across the pond. We had Ginny Randalls coming over from England, and Robert Anton Wilson. We were going to give him a Lifetime Achievement Award, and it all fell to shit. And but you know, then I went and did other things, and within 2 years, that's when I founded the nonprofit 501c3 Anomaly Archives, Scientific Anomaly Institute. So that's probably the most compressed version I can give.
I love it, man. I mean, that gives us a good little round overview, man. I mean, when, like I said, man, we had started this show, and really, you know, it was always like Ben and I would always just kind of be in the corner chit chatting about the stuff, you know, and people would always ask us questions, friends and family and stuff like that. And it was just kind of a light topic. But, you know, this thing kind of started with like, hey, what if we just made some videos of ourselves chatting about it? Yeah. And you know, there are our friends and family, you know, they can see what we talk about if they're ever interested. And then, you know, then we had 10 other people that weren't our friends and family. And then we had, you know, 100 people that weren't our friends and family. And then once we're out to like now 3,000 on YouTube, and none of them are our friends and family. So that obviously fell through completely. But this has come along pretty nice. And, you know, as we were Googling, I think the most recent thing we saw was like a building top UFO watch, and it was like from 2011. And then the next thing that popped up was Anomaly Archives. I started looking at it, and I was like, what the hell? I've driven by that a million times, and I just thought it was like some government building that I
remember looking at it like on Google Maps, and I'm like, I know that building, dude. I have been past that building, always wondering what is in there. Like
I know.
I remember like parking over in that area, trying to walk over to Rainey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like, I would always wonder, like, man, that's a cool looking building. Like, what's in there? I was always drawn to it for some reason.
And then we didn't know what was going on because we didn't realize that, you know, there was multiple things in that building, and you had to have a key to get in. And we were like, Anomaly Archives, man, they got to let you in. They got bodies in there. So we got there.
Yeah, I didn't show you that room.
yeah, we didn't see that room. We didn't see the bodies, but man, one of the coolest things, like before you even walk into, you know, before you walked into the room, it said Anomaly Archives, Scientific Anomaly Institute, and then right underneath of it said Institute for Neuroscience and Consciousness Studies. Like, when we saw that, we were like, okay, here we go.
Hook me up.
Here we go.
We're in the right place.
Yeah. And then you showed us y'all's little trophy and all that neat stuff. Dude.
And thank you for mentioning that other nonprofit, INACS, Institute for Neuroscience and Consciousness Studies. They're another nonprofit that I've been involved with for many, many years. And they actually, I was a member of their organization before forming my own, and you know, it's like so many things, you know. We couldn't have done it without them, and with the help of other nonprofits here in Austin. There's been so much help from that community, that what we refer to as the consciousness community, you know, here in Austin, you know. So trying to raise each other up. So
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
I want to know about this consciousness community in Austin because, like, when like this consciousness thing is so new to me. Like this past year, like very recent, and it has been a freaking roller coaster. So, like, you're telling me there's a group of people that study this, or like, or is it like do y'all get together and just talk ideas?
So there, you know, you may be familiar with IONS, Edgar Mitchell's organization, the Institute of Noetic Science,
Hmm.
headquartered out of California, but they have local chapters. There's been an Austin chapter for a long, long time. Um, you know, so much has changed in these last 2 or 3 years due to the pandemic and just the rapid growth here in Austin. But yeah, so those were some of the organizations again that I first met and that were like my peeps. You know, they like were all interested in all this stuff. You know, from just more quote unquote new agey, you know, paradigm shifting consciousness type stuff, whether it be out of body experiences, parapsychology, psi phenomena, or just, you know, spiritual ideas about the nature of consciousness, the soul, and the afterlife or reincarnation. You know, all those areas are so intriguing, and there have been, you know, Austin being Austin, there's been a long tradition of people looking into that. And so Austin Ions and INAX and the Human Potential Center, these are all local groups that have been part of my community of friends, and where they would have monthly meetings of you know, try to bring in speakers and lecturers, and you never knew what it was going to be about. If folks are really interested in that, INAX has a great YouTube channel with a lot of their videos of past events on all these subjects, from Joseph Campbell talking about the big toe, TOE, theory of everything, to people who've had near-death experiences and had a transformative experience that's caused them to have an awakening, whether it be just suddenly having psychic experiences or seeing auras, or the whole gamut of weird, awesome, strange, intriguing stuff. Um, so yeah, it's informally referred to as the Austin Consciousness Community, but there's little pockets of them everywhere. They're still around here and there.
That's awesome.
It's been harder though now. I mean, I know the person who took over the Ions group mostly started coordinating with the national group, and like when they would do their free like Zoom lectures, they would promote those. But previously they were, you know, having physical in-person events, um, most of which are, like I say, videotaped and online videotaped, recorded digitally.
Yes. Yes, dude. Yeah, man. I mean, you know, Ben and I came, visited Anomaly Archives, absolutely fell in love. Then we had a conference we had to go to. And when we got back from the conference, you know, it was like, hey, when we get back, we got to go back to the Anomaly Archives so we can go rent some books, right? Even though I previously stated we're not very good readers. We've gotten pretty good at
Ah, born
after
again.
doing this. You know, there's a lot of documents and shit you got to read, so you better get good at it if you want to do some research, right? So, man, we were so stoked, and then as we stated, the world changed a little bit, and we're like, God damn it! Now we gotta wait, and you know we were like, God, I can't wait for this 2 weeks to be up so we can go back. And then 2 years later, here we are, man. You know,
Yeah.
um, give us kind of a, because I want to lighten this up here in a little bit. But right now, what is the status of Anomaly Archives? What do you guys need, right? Because Ben and I started this thing where we want to pick somebody to help out, you know, at some point in the community. And dude, like yours was the first thing to pop in our head because we were like, there's so many resources and just knowledge in that tiny little building that I could literally go in there and probably learn more than I could just on the internet looking for myself, you know? So where do you guys stand right now, you know?
Well, it's tough to talk about, but and yeah, it's been an emotional roller coaster.
Bet.
So yeah, I know that y'all were so generous and donated when we did our emergency fundraiser at the end of 2020. That was at the point at which we knew our lease, our 3-year lease was coming up for that space. And really that space, as y'all have implied, it was so awesome and perfect for us. We had really gotten to that next level. We were starting to get some momentum, and things were really coming together. And so we, in the hopes of renewing that lease, we were trying to raise our annual budget, which was for that space was just a measly $20,000. That, and like 15 grand of which was rent, and then 5,000 for operating expenses. I mean, that's unheard of. That's no paid staff. There's never been any paid staff. There's no skimming off the top or anything like that. It's just money to pay the rent, to have the space. And what a space it was. You didn't get to even see the event space. There were meeting rooms, but anyway,
and the bodies.
And the body, yeah,
the giant
fourth
test
room.
tubes with the floating embryos in it,
and the Tesla arcing electrical coils.
Yeah, the Stargate,
yeah. But the long story short, we lost the lease. The organization that owns the building is a nonprofit. They too were suffering terribly from the pandemic, and as much as they could use the help in terms of income, they were looking to bring in other staff from other facilities to consolidate there. And so they needed the space, and they decided not to renew with us. And that was right at the end of our fundraiser. So we raised just over half of our goal, so around $11,000. And that's when we became homeless. And they were, very nice. They worked with us. They didn't kick us out. So they gave us enough time to pack up and move, but we had no place to move to. So we had to, right after the snowpocalypse of 2021, that's when we packed up everything and put it into storage. And it has been in storage for just over a year now. The anniversary, sad as it is last month. And what it really comes down to is, needing a recurring source of income. And that's really hard to do without like some kind of benefactor, somebody who can really put down some significant funds. Or working our butts off to try to do like events and such, which is great. But that the whole point of the organization is the preservation of these materials, and that requires a physical space and then public education. So that's the event part of it, is like telling people about what's in the collection and, what does this stuff mean? And I think it means a lot. I think it means the world. I think it means, so much of all the things that people are looking at these types of subjects for. I'm not sure if the answers are in the archive, but they probably are. So the status is we are still in storage, and we're just not really sure where we're going at this point. We've like you hardworking guys were telling me, you work your day job, and this is, a passion, and you do it as much as you can, but it ain't the day job. Sadly, I wish it was.
Right.
So we are really just looking to try to create a system where we can have some regular dependable income so that we can afford some modest amount of space. The space we were in was that big main room was about 800 square feet. And then with the other two rooms that y'all saw, that y'all toured, that was about a total of about 1,200 square feet. And the rent for that was basically right around $1,100 to $1,500 a month. But that was a sweetheart deal from a nonprofit that liked to help nonprofits. And as you guys know, living here with me here in this town, nothing's getting cheaper.
Definitely not, man. Definitely not. That's that's so tough, especially when it's just like when you think about, like, when you just think about certain things, like, I don't know, shitty example, Library of Alexandria, gone. All the knowledge that was in that thing, where did it go? Like, that's probably not a shitty example. But
great example. That's how I felt when I walked into that place.
I know, it was like,
What like everybody like just listening. I mean, everybody on YouTube as well. But like when you walked into this place, you saw rows and rows. It felt like it went on for miles. That's my memory anyway.
Right.
Of like new books, medium new old books, and then like really old books that were made out of like papyrus and like bull skin and shit. Like, dude, it was like some of that stuff should have been in the Vatican, man.
Like you look at it and it just flakes. You're like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Man. All them hocus pocus books in there.
Yes, that's the one. Yes,
The one with the eyeball and it like blinks at you.
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Some of our oldest books are rarest from the 1600s. And then but mint condition first editions of the classic UFO contactee books, rare books on Atlantis and ancient civilizations, and lots of stuff on parapsychology, whether it be out-of-body experiences or psychic remote viewing or classic ESP experiments and the Gansfeld experiments, and a wealth of information, and it needs to be available. It absolutely needs to be available again. And it again, not to be too maudlin, but I mean, it breaks my heart because it has had a home since we formed it in 2003. In 2003, I was amassing, all these books that I was buying and collecting and getting donated from friends who are like, well, here, I know you're into this stuff, faster than I could read it. And that moment, hit me where it's like, this is just sitting, collecting dust. It should be made available to other people. And that's when, and I'd had the desire and the inspiration for a long time. There's the biggest archive like this in the world is amazing, but it's in Sweden. That's the Archives for the Unexplained, AFU, previously the Archives for UFO Research. And here's a book about that archive right here.
It's awesome. Cool. That's awesome.
And its author I just met at this conference this past weekend that was for another archive. So all of which is very bittersweet, but it's great to know that there are these things out there, and there hopefully if we have anything to do with it, there will be again here in Austin. So because God bless Rice University, Houston, Texas, are we going to let them beat us on the weird library? No.
No, dude, are you kidding me?
Oh man.
Oh.
Yeah, we had talked to Joanna Aitkenker. She was the head archivist up in Canada. They had received all the
Stan Friedman stuff,
the Stan Friedman stuff, and she was on the show, and she was just, man, the stuff that must be in that library is got to be fascinating. On top of that, now they have all of Stan Friedman stuff. Like, she was just talking about it, and it was like, man, what a cool thing, right? Like, you walk into his house, you pack all this shit up, you bring it in a big truck, and you open it up, and it's like Christmas every day. I'm sure it's a lot of work, but like that's got to be so fascinating.
Yeah,
to just sit there and look through and skim through, and what's this weird vial full of dust? Like, what is this strange metal I found in an envelope? Like, what? Like, that's got to be incredible, man.
So that was for the fundraiser, the streamathon that we did in 2020, I had approached them, and actually, I think it was after seeing y'all's interview, I was like, she's obviously, approachable, and I think y'all are one of the few people who've ever interviewed her. And so I reached out to them and told them our predicament and said, but hey, I know y'all are doing this good work and I want to support y'all. So if y'all want to, submit a video. So they made a video showing the how they're preserving his material, and we got to show it live during our fundraiser on. And so you can go to the Anomaly Archives YouTube channel, and there's a video there that shows them doing that. And it's, they're one of these institutions that are archiving this kind of material, but they're not devoted to the subject. I mean, they're
right.
They're a mainstream university that, like, he had a connection to that university, and that's what you find. You can also go to the Anomaly Archives website and look for other archives, and we have a web page that's a directory of all of the ones I'm aware of. I'm constantly getting new information, but there are so many of these collections, whether it's, J. Allen Hynek or James McDonald or these other people, each of their archives tend to end up in some kind of university library, university archive. We love to get donations. That's what keeps us going. And so this AFU in Sweden is the biggest, and then now there's this new one over at Rice University, which is where I was this weekend. And that was another one of these, like probably the same week that y'all came and visited and did that video. In the months before, I had kind of pieced together from seeing the UFO podcast. Is it Martin? I'm forgetting his name, but he has a YouTube UFO show. He had on Professor Diana Pasulka, and in the midst of her discussion, she kind of mentioned about how she'd acquired an archive from another researcher and traded hands a few times, and ultimately she gave it to Jeff Kripal at Rice University. And I was like, what? Wait,
Whoa.
huh? And
Whoa.
and then I found a Canadian organization that has a directory of similar archives, and sure enough, there was the Rice University archive. And it said, "Oh, here's the boxes of the communion letters that Whitley Strieber has donated, and here's the boxes that Jacques Vallée has donated." And I'm just like, my jaw just hit the floor, man.
That's
I'm like immediately so freaking jealous, and also just like, well, thank God this is finally happening. And it's Rice University in Houston. Okay. But yeah, within like that same month that y'all came and visited, within probably the same week, I got an email from them because I'd reached out to the folks at this Rice archive, the Archives of the Impossible, as it's called. And they said, "Hey, we're going to be doing this big opening event in October 2020. Would you like to be there and on a panel talking about similar archives?" And I'm like, hell yeah, I want to. I said yes, and that all the wheels started turning. But then, of course, like we said, man, COVID and the world changed, and
Yeah, dude.
it got delayed and delayed and delayed, and then it just finally happened this past weekend, March 6th through 8th, man. And dude, when people come out of the woodwork, I'm sure y'all have experienced this, like ever since December 2017, and Leslie Kean and Blumenthal's and the New York Times and all these revelations about the Pentagon and Lou Elizondo, and of course, thank you, Tom DeLonge. I have plenty more to say about that, but that's the nice thing I'll say. Thank you, Tom DeLonge. But it's been a sea change. It's clearly a sea change in the way the mainstream media and the public at large perceive this, that silly subject. Now it's got some kind of air of legitimacy because it's got the stamp of the government and the military. I got a lot of issues with that, but anyway,
literally holding your breath.
Yeah, I think a lot of us do.
Holding my tongue, but Lou seems like such a great guy. So, but there's also been quietly going on in the background a sea change in academia. And, everybody laments that, like, colleges and universities and academics and science have never taken this seriously. Well, we know that there's always been pockets of people taking this stuff seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And usually in secret. Yes, exactly. As Diana Pasulka and others have said, and as Jacques Vallée's book is called, there's been invisible colleges. There have been people who've networked, who are in these academic areas, who have done this stuff in secret because there was the ridicule factor, the laughter curtain, and all those things that keep experiencers from talking about their strange experiences. And it's really changed the landscape. And like I say, there is also this sea change happening in academia. And this, as I've described to some people, this event this past weekend was the shot across the bow of academia. I don't know if it's going to have any significant impact, but I hope so, because it's long overdue. And there are so many good people doing research and trying to get this thing moved forward. And it's really exciting to me. This event this past weekend was nothing like a traditional UFO conference, and that's good and bad. I have, like I say, I have feelings on both sides of the issue. I love the UFO circus tent, and I hate the UFO circus tent.
Yeah.
I want legitimacy in science, and I like the silly factor sometimes. It's always been strange, at classic UFO conferences when you've got people describing these often horrific and traumatic experiences or these life-changing sightings, and these really intense things. And then over in the dealer's room, you can get your UFO belt buckle, and you can get your alien abduction chocolates, and it's like
your blow up dolls.
Yeah. Hey, I think you've got a few back there.
They're literally blow up dolls.
I do. I set up a giant UFO in my front yard, and these guys were just walking around for Halloween. And then I left it up for what's the next one after no Thanksgiving. I put little headbands with feathers in them, and so then they were Indians, and I had like this little turkey I made, and I put it out there. It was like a gathering, and then I put elf hats and a Santa hat on them, and that was so it was a very good investment. It lasted me multiple holidays, and I'm not disappointed in it. My wife, on the other hand, I mean, she had she's like, how long are you gonna keep that up? I was like, I don't know. St. Patty's Day is coming up next. They're all gonna have whiskey bottles. She was like, take that shit out of the front yard. It's been up for months. I was like, all right,
bottles?
you win.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So it was good stuff, dude. Yeah, I one of our first conferences that we went to, we were like, man, the shift from the conference room to the hallway is completely different. It's way different. Everybody's having a good time, they're joking, they're selling their little blow up dolls and stuff, and then on the inside, people are like, like this crazy shit happened to me, and I don't know how to explain it. That's why I'm here in this room, because it's the only place I feel safe. Right?
There's a certain percentage of people walking through those hallways and walking through the trade room, like still traumatized and don't know who to talk to. Yeah. And it's just the juxtaposition is jarring. It like I can feel it, dude. And that was one of the things, like when we started doing this podcast, we had no idea about literally any of this stuff. We just like love talking about aliens. But that has been one of the most interesting things too. Like what's the balance between like having fun with it, making fun with it, making fun of it, like there's so many. It's so delicate.
The thing that made us feel okay, kind of about what we do, is we've talked to a lot of experiencers at this point. Like a lot, because that really became our main focus. We were like, we just like to talk about UFOs, and then as we dove into it, we're like, man, this is fascinating. And so experiencers really became the main focus for Ben and I. It's the thing that we hone in on the most. The rest of it is all kind of he said, she said, I have this, you have that, whatever. But like sitting down and listening to somebody tell their experience that happened to them in their own words, and just the look on their face, the thing about that is, they say, we love you guys, because at some point you have to have some kind of sense of humor about this. Otherwise you're going to lose it. And, because Ben and I were on the teetering block of like, shit, should we even do this? And then we started getting a lot of love, just like from people who have actually experienced this. And we're like, you guys are fine. I'm so comfortable on your show. Thank you for not just aiming at my head, through a scope every time I come on your show. And it's like, thank you, man. It made us feel good.
And it is a tightrope for people who are seeking like yourselves, because it's like the whole medical profession, do no harm. First of all, I mean, these are people and they deserve respect, and like everyone does. But I mean, especially folks who've had experiences that often leave them with the phrase shattered reality, and it's all about them. I mean, oh, we got radar traces. Oh, we got, soil samples or whatever, physical evidence. It mostly comes down to stories, and I mean, no disrespect with that, because that is, we're living. This is I'm going to go back to Jeff Kripal at Rice University. We are living in stories. Our lives are stories. We are each living myths. The myths that we were born into because of our socioeconomic class and our gender and our ethnicity and where we were born on the planet, but it's the stories that inform how we interact with others, and these anomalous stories just they intimate so much more than traditional boring reality, the thing that's drilled into us, the imagination that's drilled out of us. They so much point to the meaning of life. And I'm really curious to see. I've been very intrigued by your efforts with your documentary, and the experiencers, the abductees, the contactees, they've all been ridiculed so harshly. They've all endured so much, and there's been so many scandals. This is one of the reasons why I've mentioned that I was involved with MUFON, and at some point before any of the scandals I would be quick to mention even happened, I was like, MUFON's, I met some great people and I had great interactions. We had great meetings, but it just didn't fulfill what I was really looking for, other than bringing me into contact with other people seeking these answers. And now, I mean, some of the scandals that have occurred with it, not least of which was, like Bob Bigelow, Big Bucks Bigelow, God bless him, buying abductee files from John Carpenter, not the film director, but the hypnotherapist that was working for MUFON, and without the permission of his patients, the abductees. I mean, that was a huge scandal, and then you've got, historian turned hypnotherapist abduction researcher David Jacobs. David Jacobs wrote the only historical book on the UFO phenomena, but that was back in the 70s when he was sticking in his wheelhouse. But like so many, he got into hypnotherapy and started doing things that I will not go into, but that are very, very wrong, and not something I would ever recommend an abductee undergo. But then, there are so many good people who are trying to help people. But yeah, it's all about the experience. So how is that documentary going, by the way?
Nice segue, dude. I have so much to say about that, but it's like, shit, I know we're limited on time, but like, yeah, on the MUFON thing, but that is so cool. I just want to say real quickly, that's so cool that you were in the community of MUFON at a time that served you well, and it was great for your experience. And just like anything else, like if it serves you, stay with it. If it's not, just maybe it's not for you at this time, and you just move on. So I think that's really interesting. I love that. But yeah, the documentary, we found an editor, you guys.
It's about to get put in fast forward, man.
Like
yeah.
If anybody's like unfamiliar with like how editing works with documentaries and movies and stuff, like, it's hard. It's like really hard. Like you gotta get somebody that knows what they're doing, like a professional.
Yeah. Ben and I don't know anything about making documentaries. Like it was literally like an accident that just fell into our lap, and it was originally supposed to just be an all audio recording because we can do that. That's easy. Yeah. And then it turned into like, well, maybe we can get some good footage, like we did with Smiles at the at the Anomaly Archive. We'll just take our iPhones, right?
Like a 3-minute video would be great.
Yeah, and then Ben worked with a guy who is really good at filming He's a professional. That's what he does for a living. And he was like, let's put this on the big camera. And we're like, okay. And then we got to the editing part and we're like, holy shit, this is going to take us like 5 years. We don't know anything about this. But, you know, it was one of those things, man, where like, you know, there's things in life, dude, where you either just do them or you don't. And this was one of those things that we thought, let's swing for the fences, man. Why not? We've never done this, you know?
Yeah.
Let's try it. I will never in my life be able to say I've made a documentary, you know? Let's try it. Let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. So yeah, and it seems to be going pretty awesome. I mean, the editor seems happy. We're pretty happy with a lot of the footage and like interviews and stuff. So it's good, man. And again, this whole thing, like even the documentary, like yeah, we filmed it and we're putting it together. But this is another thing where like it's not about us. The documentary isn't about us. We don't want this to be about us. Obviously, our names on it because we helped put it together, but you know, Eric Mitchell's story, other experiencers, you know, that's what it's about. It's a documentary letting people know that if they've ever experienced anything like this and they don't know where to turn or who to talk to, hey man, you're not alone, right? That's the main message. You're not alone. There are other people out there. Whether you believe it or you don't, or you think the documentary is total shit, the main message that we're trying to get over is, dude, you're not alone. You know,
and that's really noble too. Like I said, this without the experiencers, what do we got? We got sightings of distant lights, maybe some landing traces, all of which, you know, okay, that's interesting, you know, and it gets to the heart of the birth of the modern era and this transition to where we are now. Like there is really these interesting, seemingly discrete series of steps, and I'm not when anything I say, you know, it is not definitive. I don't have the answer. I'm pointing out stuff that's probably been pointed out by others before, but like, you know, with the modern era, you know, starting with if you do the classic, start with Kenneth Arnold and his sighting and the Roswell crash. And I would say crashes seem to be the out of the ordinary, even though they were falling out of the skies, as we know. But crashes seem really different than the rest of the phenomena. Though I may be changing my mind on that thanks to Vallet's latest book. The Trinity, the one that got so controversial because of his palling up with Paulo Harris, But like that whole progression of like, oh, you know, distant sighting of lights. Oh, wait, they're closer this time. Oh, wait, they're interfering with our car. You know, the radio's going crazy. The car stalls, and then the landings, and then the occupants. And then we're off to the races. And it's, you know, Contact City with the contactees, and very shortly thereafter, and actually kind of overlapping, but we didn't know for like years or a decade later, abductions, close encounters of the third, fourth, fifth, and however high you want to go kind.
Man, there's a lot. There's so many cases. Like one of the biggest people that turned me on to a lot of just different stuff is Michael Schratt. I mean, that dude, you know, sat through and just thumbed through the old Kufos records, you know. He was like, yeah, it's out there. It was out there in Chicago at the time. I went in. I was like, hey, can I see those? And they were like, yeah, sure, go for it. And he was like, it was surprising because there was all this free information, thousands and thousands of documents. And I just sat there by myself every time and just thumbed through them and made copies of whatever I wanted. And then one day it was just no more. You couldn't do that anymore, you know?
I think he's the guy. He actually came to our archive, and we let him do exactly that.
Yeah, he loves doing that. He just released well, he had given us a copy a while back. Dark Files is the new thing that he just released, and he's been he's usually not very active. I mean, the guy is very timid. He's very humble. He's a super awesome, smart, nice dude. But recently, man, he's been like pumping out some new YouTube videos and like kind of compiling all this now that his book is out, and he's talking about it, and he's been very vocal lately. And I'm so excited to hear that because that dude is A+ in my book. I
Yeah.
love that guy, you know?
Yeah. I had the exact same experience. He reached out to us and said, "Hey, I'm going to be in Austin for a day job related gig. Could I come and see what I can find?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, come on by." So yeah, took some time off from my day job to open it up for him,
Yeah.
and there, he went through, and that's the kind of thing it's there for. And so it was so gratifying to have somebody like him doing exactly that. And I'm glad that he's finally got his book out.
Mhm.
He gave us some prints of his awesome art, illustrating these classic cases, or cases that have not actually been publicized before, but he's been digging up this stuff, and it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a real great dude, man. Uh, Man, I wanted to bring something up. You had sent us a couple links, and man, I started reading through this this planetary poltergeist and weapons of mass enchantment. Dude, it was
Oh,
blowing my mind. Like, it was awesome.
I'm glad you liked it. Thank you.
I loved it, man, because eh, you explain exactly how I feel, like within like the first paragraph. Like, it seems like you have like, there's this, right, and people believe this, right, but then there's also this over here, and people only believe that. And one of the things that you said is, a lot of times what happens is people pick a route and they stick to it, right, and that's the narrative and that's what they believe. But the way that you explain it in this article is like, it's kind of all encompassing. Like, we can't be leaving all this stuff out. There is a connection, somewhere between all of this. And, it was such a good read, man. I absolutely love that. Could you go into detail a little bit on that? Because I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here that I'm reading, and it's like, I can read the word and pronounce it, but you know, if you have no context, sometimes it's difficult to understand what's going on, right? And we have a lot of new listeners too, so a lot of it is way over their heads, and it's always easier if people just kind of explain a little bit.
So yeah, so this was all part. So I was invited to participate in an anthology of UFO researcher writers for a book called UFOs: Reframing the Debate. It was released in 2017. It has an introduction by Diana Pasulka, who I mentioned, the professor of religion at I think it's North Carolina University. And I honestly, I'm definitely not the most known person among the list of contributors, but I was honored to be a part of it. And what I did actually was, as I introduced in the essay, which I think you linked in tonight's show notes for the YouTube link, was I basically transcribed some lectures that I gave, where I tried to just throw out all the different avenues of research that I think are worth looking at, and yeah, not trying to convince anybody of any one idea. And I start it with, anybody who tells you they know what's going on, you should run screaming, because they're full of shit. No,
Yes.
no offense, but but
It's great advice.
I'm glad you agree. But I at the same while at the same time admitting my own biases, because I do lean towards my own speculative avenues, and the article mentions planetary poltergeist, which is kind of a playful way of talking about this idea that there is some kind of psychic manifestation phenomena going on that may be part of the UFO phenomena. And what the other half of the article, which is actually the focus, is this idea of weapons of mass enchantment. The idea that there are human agencies who've investigated this and learned a lot from observing the true UFO phenomena, and then created their own faux, FAUX, false UFO phenomena. And it's really important for people to be wary of this. I'm not trying to, oh yes, I see the link. Thank you. To the article. I'm not trying to make people paranoid or just think it's all, oh, it's all just a hoax on the part of the military, or it's all just, psychic manifestations of Gaia, the planet herself. But these are two different, seemingly mutually exclusive ideas, but they're not. So many of the ideas that have been put forth for explaining UFOs are not mutually exclusive. I mean, none of this eliminates the possibility of extraterrestrials. I do not particularly subscribe to the extraterrestrial hypothesis, but I'm not going to tell you that it can't happen. I just personally don't. When I look at the data, I think it skews a different way.
Right.
But I, God, please don't let us be the only intelligent life.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It's just too big. It's a horrible waste of space.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we're the only ones. But so, so I try to, in the essay, talk about these possible looking at the phenomena from the human manipulation angle. And there's a lot of cases where if you look at them through the lens of psychological warfare and psychological operations and perception management, you kind of start to see a possible pattern that there has been efforts by the military industrial complex and governments and corporations and religious institutions and esoteric traditions to learn from the phenomena and emulate it for their own ends. Now, I'm not suggesting that there's some big overarching conspiracy that has coordinated this, but some of my favorite classic UFO cases just kind of take on weird alternative angles if you look at them. Everything from the Pascagoula, Mississippi abduction, close encounter, because of its close proximity to some programs, some military experiments programs that were happening really nearby on some islands in the river there. All of this is either come about knowledge of the programs that may have relevance to these things are often uncovered by people investigating things like the CIA's MK Ultra. And now granted, there is a lot of dreck. There's a lot of total bullshit out there that may be true, but like nobody's really been able to definitively pin it down. But there is so much that has been pinned down in terms of MK Ultra that there is a there is not just smoke, there is fire.
Right.
But again, like with the classic Kelly Hopkinsville goblin case, I'm not saying it was a government hoax, but it's very interesting that one of the sub programs of MK Ultra had a very famous magician go to the site and investigate the case after the fact. Now, was that just them going, there's something really weird there? Could it have been a hoax on the part of the family? Let's have a magician go look. Maybe it's as simple as that. Or maybe there was another program that ran an op against that poor family, and he was sent there to kind of to see if he could pick up the pieces or tease out an explanation.
Can I ask you really quick, when you say send a magician?
I was, yeah, my hamster started running on the wheel too. Like the next time my wife tries to pull some shit, I'm hiring a magician to come to the house and figure it out, right? Like, who needs a private investigator? I'm calling the local magician.
I've got somebody to call, actually.
All right.
No. So I'm blanking on the particular magician's name, but he was a very famous magician of the time. And of course, if the Kelly Hopkinsville case is this case where the family saw what some describe as a shooting star, others describe as a craft that went across the sky, maybe came down, landed behind a nearby hill, and then their home was assaulted, invaded, not internally, but on the outskirts of the house. These glowing silver, long-armed, goblin-esque creatures that, when shot multiple times by these shotgun-wielding locals, would just like flip and scamper off unharmed. It's a classic. I mean, this is the kind of thing I read as a kid. In these Daniel Cohen is the classic like author of these young adult or kids UFO books and cryptozoology books. But I read about this case, but in the files of MK Ultra are there was a program where this particular magician is the guy that wrote like manuals for the CIA and the intelligence services on like sleight of hand, how to administer drugs without being caught, how to roofie people, just the worst kind of stuff. But total classic Spycraft, but from the ability of a magician who, but he doesn't have the Q dart gun, but he can teach you how to do sleight of hand to
Some lab
accomplish
shit.
the same thing.
You
Yeah,
like shake your hand and then you fart for some reason.
You're like, oh,
How
that's
did you do that?
ancient Chinese secret.
Exactly.
This guy's gonna try and tell me about aliens, and he farted. Nobody can take this guy seriously. He's a quack. Get him out of here. Just farting all the time.
Yeah.
So in the essay, I just talk about a number of other cases like that. Nick Redfern uncovered a white paper from Raytheon, one of these defense contractors, that was about how a particular troop, I think over in Italy in World War II, had created an improvised, like not a robot, but like an improvised prop that basically was used to scare remote villagers, and it through real minimal technology. And Redfern was like reading this, and he's like, this really sounds like the classic Flatwoods monster, the spade-headed big creature that the kids and the army guy see. And I mean, again, another classic, it's more along the style of monster cases as opposed to classic close encounters where you think of aliens taking soil samples or abducting people. They're more monster oriented, but there's cases like that
involved, like no craft involved, like
right. The whole thing that led them to that was a sighting of something going across the sky and coming down, again similar to the Kelly Hopkinsville, but yeah, it wasn't really seen in proximity.
Okay.
And that just to kind of diverge on that gets to what we were saying about sightings of UFOs versus bedroom visitation, abduction type of experiences. There are still tons of classic old school UFO researchers who are mostly nuts and bolts. They want to kick the tires. They're not interested in any new woo-woo new age explanations. They just think it's some kind of advanced tech. It may be from some extraterrestrial, but they don't want to talk about the occupants. And there was a phase in early ufology where there was a hardcore contention that was like, I don't even want to hear about these occupant cases because that's just a bridge too far. And there's still some people who are holding on to that torch, like, I don't know what that abduction stuff is. And honestly, I think anybody really has to kind of, at least be willing to say, there's so many people now who are experiencers who, it's not that they were driving along in the night and saw a UFO and their car stalled and then they had a classic close encounter or then a abduction or out of body experience or whatever. But more often there was a large percentage started having these just bedroom visitations type things. Like, yes, there might have been a light outside the window, but more often than not, it's just like this bedroom thing, which is, the skeptics immediately are like, oh, it's sleep paralysis. It's, nothing more exotic than that altered state of consciousness. But
yeah,
I would argue none of these simplistic explanations gets to the heart of the matter, and it certainly doesn't explain all the data, because going back to your comment about Marfa, the sightings, the Marfa lights occurred before car lights, before there were their cars, and it's like, okay, so, you think a large percentage of UFO sightings are just secret military aircraft. Well, there hasn't always been a secret military, at least not of the variety we're thinking.
Yep.
Yeah.
But then that gets into that whole other area that intrigues me, which is the idea of the cryptoterrestrial hypothesis. The idea, and I didn't really touch on this in the paper, other than maybe alluding to it, but this is kind of a play on John Keel's idea of ultra-terrestrials, the idea of there's always been something, some other intelligence or civilization or entities here. With John Keel, it's almost more demonological. these idea of these ultra terrestrials, but a young man who unfortunately passed away far too young, Mac Tonys, was exploring this idea of a crypto-terrestrial hypothesis, the idea that what if there is a civilization that's been here with us all this time and would rather us believe that they're from up there than right here, because it would have the advantage of we're looking in the wrong direction, and they somehow have coexisted with us and continue to coexist with us, but they for whatever reason don't want us to really interact in some kind of direct way. And I find that a fascinating idea, that there could be this other civilization. It also has similarities to this idea of a breakaway civilization, a more modern, like sometime in our recent history, human civilization breaking away.
It kind of, sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
It kind of like gives me the idea of, like, when you go to the wild, right? The wild is full of animals, right? But like, you might only occasionally see a wolf, right? Well, there's a lot of wolves out in the wild, you might only occasionally see a mountain lion or a bear if you're lucky, right? But that's where they live. They're there. There's there's so many of those things, right? And it kind of makes you wonder, like, if an animal that doesn't like have the internet or like can drive you just assume that, like, that's they're not as smart as you, right? They're on a different scale of smart, but you would just assume they're not as smart as you. It kind of makes you wonder, like, if there was a more advanced civilization, they could almost do the exact same thing, because they're smarter than you are. You are the dumb wolf or the dumb bear in that case, except for it's flipped. They decided, okay, we're just gonna kind of occasionally, they might see us, right? That's just the way it goes. We all live in the same place. They're occasionally gonna see us, but let's not try and, like, I guess, advertise it, So it kind of seems like it would be easy to do that. There's a lot of space on the planet that we don't even go to, right? There's woods in the United States. There's a shitload of people that nobody has ever been. There's like old places that nobody has ever walked across for hundreds of thousands of years, right? And the idea that there is so much space, and you could very well hide, whether it be the ocean or the forest or even the sky. Shit, if you're that advanced, why not hang out up there, right? Or just kind of out of view, out of sight, where nobody's looking, whatever. And the people that are looking, right, which is the people who own satellites, they see it, but they're not going to say nothing. They're not going to tell you, at least, right?
So give away their position.
It's almost kind of plausible that a more advanced civilization could live right here with you, and you would never know it because they're smarter than you.
And this, some argue that this is part of, if you look at the UFO phenomena over time, like if you incorporate like the airships of the 1800s, like they're staying just ahead of us. Now, of course, there's some people who think, oh, that was just our human innovation that was being kept secret, and that's, those were just human inventions that they were seeing. But again, it's almost like the sightings, the level of technology implied in these sightings always seem to be just slightly beyond where we were. Like the cryptoterrestrials are just like, yeah, we'll just, put a jet on this one this time, and we'll go a little faster. And they got jets now. Okay, well, we'll do, we'll break out the anti-gravity stuff, and that's how we'll stay just ahead of them. But like you talk about places, remote places that most humans haven't been. East Texas, man, big thicket, the big thicket, Bigfoot, man.
Nobody lives out there, dude.
Joe, Bigfoot lives out there, man.
That's it.
I 100% believe that he does, or many of them.
Yes, right. That one Bigfoot who gets around.
He goes everywhere, dude.
He's fast. He's a fast guy.
You can teleport, right?
Well, only thing about West Texas is that if you've ever been out there, you guys
East Texas.
Sorry. Yes, thank you, Joe. East Texas. Wait, are we talking about East Texas or West Texas?
East Texas is where the thicket's at.
Oh, I was going to say, because West Texas is all bush country. Every natural like tree or everything's bushy and spiny. Everything wants to kill you, dude. It is terrible to walk around in. I was going to say, if you're a Bigfoot, you're going to be hairless by the end of the day, because like everything is just trying to rip shit off of you like, everywhere you go, and then rattlesnake.
Yes.
So,
That's one of the great things about Texas, man. We've got mystery light phenomena on both sides. We got the Marfa lights over in West Texas, and we've got the ghost lights of Bragg Road, the Ghost Road, in the thick of the thicket over in East Texas. Totally different environment. So, okay, if it's a natural phenomena, why can it exist in a swampy environment? Why can it also exist in a dry desert environment? Is it even the same luminous light phenomena, assuming it's a natural phenomena?
Right.
I think it's all just Bigfoot. Just Bigfoot getting around, going into ball lightning form, floating around.
Dude, I love that. I love that.
Because technically he is a pioneer and he's been riding in balls of light for miles, dude.
These pioneers been riding these goddamn balls for miles,
Dude,
man.
it's funny because every joke we've made since the beginning of the podcast comes full circle, like the further in we get to this. And it's like, wow, that's not a joke. That could
For
totally be real.
generations upon generations.
It's a very selective group of people.
Very specific and selective group of people only are allowed to hold these lanterns in the mountains. No one else can come.
We were talking about, they were like, yeah, they hold jack-o'-lanterns. Oh, they hold jack-o'-lanterns up in the mountains? Really?
Like
Okay.
that was one of the
I can't see my jack-o'-lantern from 3 houses down. You expect me to see it from across the desert at some mountains? I don't think so.
Hey. What are you guys doing up there? Holding these jack-o'-lanterns, just tripping people out, man.
Yeah, that's what we do.
For thousands of years, man. Me and my family.
Yeah, all over the place, man. It's so crazy that, like, it's almost religious in a way. This whole thing is it's like you have such a strong belief on something you can't quite put your thumb on, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost spooky sometimes. And then, like, I come from a very religious background. I myself am not religious, really. But then I start looking into all this stuff and I start talking about it, and I'm like, what? It's like the same story, like the Bible, right? Or like the same, like all these stories, they all have like these weird connections. And even in the UFO thing, it's like when you start getting into consciousness and like things appearing and stuff like that, and it's like, well, like I had somebody ask me, well, was Jesus an alien? It's like, well, shit, I don't know. Like maybe, right? Maybe he was just like a really badass mage. Like magicians have existed forever, right? It's not like a new thing by any means, right? And it's just like we have this idea of these things that possibly maybe come from the sky, or they don't come from the sky, right? That's the old thing. But like, if God is this all powerful, can do anything, send things wherever he wants to, but these beings are also all powerful. They can kind of do whatever they want, manipulate time, space, gravity, whatever it is. Say one comes down. This was the conversation that we were having, was like, so you think Jesus is an alien, and that we should trust him and believe in him and have faith in him, and then we'll be saved and go to heaven? I was like, I don't know. But like, if an alien came down and told you some really good ideas on how to maybe like advance or enhance your life, would we all believe it right away? Or would that take like thousands of years of like a power structure and manipulation to get you to believe that one being that you met with some really good information was actually right? And it's like, could he have just said some stuff that like was actually just helpful and then turned into like a false, like martyr or a false prophet for a structure of power? Because a lot of people, globbed onto that. They were like, man, this guy's got some good ideas. I don't really know what he's talking about, but like, he's right. He's probably making my life a little bit better. Things are looking up for me. It feels really good, So you get a whole group of people, and then your government kills this guy, and they're all like, "Oh, you killed him. That sucks. We don't really like that." And they're like, "Oh, well, actually, hold on, we did kill him, right? But he's actually the son of God." wait, he's the son of God. Yeah, he's the son of God. Oh shit, well, he was the son of God. You guys killed him.
We
It's
killed
this
him
whole-
for
this
you.
whole thing, that goes on, and now thousands of years later, like we still believe in this one guy. It kind of makes me think of like if an alien came down and said some cool shit, how long would that take before everybody was like, oh yeah, I believe that guy? And for a power structure to take a hold of that and say, oh yeah, that guy, that's the son of God, right?
Yeah.
In like
Yeah.
a new form though, right? Or source. That's the voice of the source, right? It's just different phrasing, different wording for the same exact thing that happened a long ass time ago. It's just very religious in a weird way,
So that sea change I was talking about in academia, it's largely coming from the religious studies department. The Diana Pasolka, who I mentioned, she's a religious scholar. Jeff Kripal at Rice University, it's the humanities department, religious scholar. And one of the other essays in the 2017 book that my essay's in is all about how modern UFO belief is its own religion. I mean, so much of this is a matter of us just finding faith in the evidence as we perceive it. And I think there's a danger in that. But I think these are the stories that inform our everyday existence and how we live our lives. And there's so much to be said about the manipulation of the masses by religious institutions, for usually not necessarily for our benefit, but and I'm not fully on board with the Jesus as alien idea, but
Oh yeah, me either.
But the thing I often say first to people about what my beliefs are about the UFO phenomena is that UFOs and the paranormal are the originators of all religions on this planet. The phenomena that people talk, I mean, if you look at every religion, it's humans have always believed themselves to be in contact with some alien other, and that alien other is often discarnate, invisible. If you're lucky, it might manifest as a ball of light, or a free forming apparition, or a burning bush,
a flaming bush, right?
What's up?
So
or a singing bush if you're in the Three Amigos.
We just harmonized, dude. That was cool.
Gave me chills. This book by Diana Pasolka. I haven't gotten to it yet. I'm still thumbing through Jim Goodall's book that he gave us. And I also heard some kind of creepy stuff about her, but we'll get into that on the show.
Diana.
Yeah.
Doing this Saturday
some
night?
Scary shit. Like, wait a second.
Yeah,
you were just a nice lady. Study religion.
She quotes me, I think, on page 271. I was ranting on Facebook about what I call synthetic synchronicity, since all of our phones are listening to us,
right?
Turn them off, dude.
It makes it harder to discern naturally occurring synchronicity from synthetic synchronicity, because
dude, I love that you just said that. Oh my god, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've been living with these things for what was it, 2006 when the first iPhone rolled out, but 10 years ago I had my first experience of this, and it just keeps happening more and more and more, and that's just it. Like you can, we know how these things can kind of happen. It's not always or only listening. It's the GPS tracking and collating all kinds of other databases and stuff. But it's pretty creepy. But real synchronicities still occur. And is that God? Is that your higher self? Is that your guardian angel? What is that?
Yeah. I mean, second what Joe said, that's such a profound thing that I haven't really thought about. Synchronicities, nowadays are so normal in our everyday lives. Like, I was just talking about diapers and open up my phone and, hey, Pampers, your
How
your daughter
synchronistic,
can shit in
right?
these. Like, buy it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, how synchronicitous. Like,
Yeah.
I resonate with that a lot. But like, I feel like when you experience a true synchronicity, you know it, and you go down this dark rabbit hole and you follow that rabbit
Right.
and you follow it and you get dirty, and then
Like,
you find yourself like at 4 a.m. on a Saturday night or Sunday morning, like, hey, I need to go to bed. You know, like,
yeah.
there's those coincidences based on technology. It feels thin. It feels like hollow. Right?
Yeah.
Like I've noticed that. I've started to notice that because we're
It's
aware of it.
it's completely different when you go to Target, right? Like there was an example with people were talking about. They were like, "Yeah, I found out that I was pregnant, so I started buying like samples of baby stuff, right?"
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I started getting all these baby advertisements and things in the mail and stuff because they read your credit card and it's like, "Oh, she's starting to buy a lot more baby stuff. Let's advertise that to her." And then we have like a situation like with our editor, right? That was pretty synchronistic, like on like a non-technological level that, you know, the guy had never heard the show. He hops on when Lou's there. We start talking about cars and he's making spaghetti, and we start making fun of like the little truck mater, and his kid, he looks up and his kid's watching Cars and Mater's on. And about that time, Lou holds up that picture of the triangle, circle, and square. And then he's like, fuck, I'm making a documentary about that exact image right now. Holy shit, what is happening? And there was just a lot of stuff that fell into place like days after. And then it's just weird. It's weird. Those are cool synchronicities, you know?
Yeah. And I like most people, I do subscribe to the belief that when you experience those seemingly true and natural deep synchronicities, that like it's the universe, God, whatever, it's you're getting that message of you're on the right path.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to recount any, but I have friends that have had negative synchronicities. It can take you down a dark path too. And like you said, Ben, a dark rabbit hole. So it's important to always find your way out of the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so like, it's so difficult for people that are in that hole to, I mean, let's just be synchronicitous here, but like see the light when someone's trying to show you like, hey dude, how you doing, bud? How's that project going? And you're like, listen, did I tell you the newest synchronicity? Like, yeah, it's really tough to break somebody out of that. I can imagine. I've been down like one really dark rabbit hole, but luckily my amazing wife was like, "Hey, you're being weird. Let's pop that out. Pop on out." I was like, "Thank God." But yes, yeah. That's perfect.
They're like,
But,
no, Kennedy is not coming back at the end of this election. All
the
right,
numbers-
fuck, they died in the plane crash.
That wasn't it. That wasn't it. So Smiles, I wanted to ask you, man. Like, I've been thinking about this lately, and this is maybe a two-parter, but we've talked about maybe your position on the phenomenon as far as like the light energy balls maybe being the same as Bigfoot, right? So that's cool. I love that, dude. Like, dude, I'm so open to anything that can give some sort of quantitative perspective. But I guess my question is like, when we go down these paths of our self-truths of, hey, this makes sense to me, and you try to tell somebody else and like maybe it makes sense to others, maybe sometimes it doesn't, you start to cross these paths of what is true to you and what is fact. So like in your discovery and everything you've read, everything you like, dude, you're just a library of Alexandria of knowledge. I feel like you're probably the most open person that we know, and certainly maybe the most well read. Like, where do you stand right now in your journey between your truth and what is fact with the phenomenon?
So I think when you showed my website, I describe myself as a militant agnostic, and
Mhm.
it's a joke. It's a joke, but I mean, I don't know, and neither do you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's but at the same time, I don't feel, like, again, that I'm not going to proselytize, trying to convince people one way or the other. If anything, I would just say, when I come up across people who are convinced of one particular belief system, especially if I do have concerns about where that could lead them, I will do my best to say, hey, are you sure about that? Because I'm not. I'm not sure. But I still I still feel confident in saying this is what I think is going on. Um, but it's well, yeah, what the hell is going on?
It's a funny place
That's
to be in, you
that's a
know?
great answer. That's all you have to say. Like you
Yeah.
could just leave it there. Like what's going like are you
It's a funny place to be, right? To be a believer and still like people who are hell bent on this is what's happening to talk those people off the ledge, but then also have people who are complete disbelievers and be like, hey, let me show you some stuff, right? You're like right in the middle of like, look, some of these guys are a little too far. We get it, and some of you guys are like, just y'all need to catch up. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a funny place to be right in the middle of that.
yeah.
For as long as I've been into these subjects, within a week, within a day, sometimes within a conversation, I've got one person, yelling and accusing me of being a skeptical debunker who doesn't believe anything. To the other side, you're just such a naive believer. You believe everything, and I'm like, well, yeah,
And
what's
that's okay.
the Red Queen in Alice in Wonderland, to evoke that down the rabbit hole thing again.
Yeah.
I believe a million crazy things before breakfast or whatever. I've believed some very strange things. I mean, like, okay, Billy Meyer, the
Yes.
one-armed Swiss contactee.
Yes.
What a great photographer he is. you know, even when I was like,
Oh
oh,
my
this is
God.
probably bullshit, but I'm like, there was a point where I'm like, well, maybe these aliens, if they're so advanced, they probably have a button they press that's like insert fishing line in that guy's photos, so that like no one will believe him that there's a fishing line in that photo. That's a fake. That's not
Yeah.
a real flying saucer. I mean, I kind of went there. Like my mind's like, what the maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. I resonate with that so much, dude. Like,
Yeah. Because one of the things we talk about is like, how far is too far, right?
yeah.
If these things are really grabbing people's hands and walking them through a wall, right? Or having them go through a ceiling, how far is too far? Like,
Yeah.
and it's such a strange thing because goddamn, like I believe them, you know? And it I want to say in a weird way, but it's not in a weird way. Like I believe that could probably happen, you
Yeah.
know?
But
Uh
like, are some days different? Like some days, like you're saying, in Smiles, like I'm just very nuts and bolts. I want answers, and then the next day I'm like, you know what? Everything's fucking love and like good vibes and shit. Probably though.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like it just
Yeah,
depends.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We have our moods and they affect our belief. There's days where I'm just like, I've just heard one too many story like that just makes me go, really,
Yeah.
really. Um, but at the end of the day, I still come back to just yes, the world is filled with weird shit, and I'm fine with not understanding it. I mean, as much as I've been at this a long time and I want answers, and I'm not one of these people who's just like, well, we should just keep the mystery going because mystery is important. I mean, well, that's true, but it's not. We can find answers. We can accomplish some things and get a better understanding. I think there's so much potential to be learned about the nature of reality and in human consciousness and perception from these phenomena. To me, the bottom line with UFO close encounters is we're bound to learn more about our own perceptual faculties. I mean, I say this all the time, but we're all hallucinating right now, man. Like, and it ain't what I've been smoking or drinking. It's just the very nature of this device. That is that we do not experience reality. We experience our perceptions of reality, and that is pretty fucking freaky, man. I mean,
Yeah.
when you realize how much that is affected and imprinted and enculturated by who we are, what are the family we're born into, the ethnic group we're born into, the culture we're born into. Thank you, Chad. It's that to me, that's just so important. And I've heard these arguments amongst UFO folks for forever about like who controls the UFO experience. It's like one of my favorite abduction researchers, who's no longer with us, Dr. Carla Turner. She was the one who put forth this idea of VRS, virtual reality scenario. This idea that she would look at certain experiences, encounters where multiple people would have different perceptions of the same event. And it seemed to be a matter of, well, she interpreted it more that the alien force, whatever their origins, were controlling the perceptions of the experiencer, the abductee, the percipient. And certainly there's tons of people who subscribe to that idea. But again, you can't rule out the fact that, a lot of how experiencers seem to perceive these things is likely dictated by just who they are, where they were born, and the belief systems that have already been inculcated in them by society. But then there are other aspects of these experiences that are so bizarre that it's like, well, that's clearly not from their prevailing paradigm, like that surely that must have been imposed by this alien other or whatever. But I come back to the human brain, when it's confronted with a true unknown, it just is grappling. It's just like, I'll just anything from my experience or that I've heard of, I'm going to throw that at it and see what sticks. And so much of these high strangeness aspects of UFO close encounters and abduction experiences, just they're mind boggling. And
they really are.
And I'm, kind of fine with that. But
yeah, I think it's very important for people to understand, I want to present to you the facts that I have to get the conversation going. But then at the end, I feel like people have such a hard time. People always want to learn, but I feel like when presented with the option, people have a hard time grasping of like, listen, I want to present the facts to you. This is what we know up to this point. But then also further on, I want you to understand that there is so much we don't know. We have no idea. We don't understand where science is now, where our technology is now, where everything is now is very in a very short amount of time. Who's to say in the next 100 years can we project where that's going to be, the kind of technology that we're going to have, and maybe some people can. I know I can't. I know Ben can't, right? And it's like there's so much that we don't understand and don't know. So just because something seems odd to you right now doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, right? One of my favorite quotes is magic is just science we don't understand.
Yeah.
At the moment. And that's such a key point that a lot of people just more so like on the skeptical side, like they have a hard time processing that and like that's fine. But the more, you can present these little pieces of bits of information of facts on the case, the better. But there is that big part, and that's the biggest part is just there's so much we don't understand,
and it's like when the skeptics like, oh, the energy required to get from here to there, and physics, and it takes time, and it's just like, dude, you are just not thinking imaginatively enough.
Right.
And
Right
it's
now.
it's
Yeah.
like that what you invoked with the Asimov quote, of a significantly advanced technology is going to seem like magic,
Right.
because you just can't imagine it. And I really like this idea that the space in the universe is so vast that they couldn't possibly get here and do these things. It's just like, that's based on our limited understanding. We know so little. Yeah.
Right, man. Right. Hey, I want to take a quick little spot just to let everybody know. We've been telling everybody for a while now, hey, anytime that you guys throw super chats in, or you go to UFOGaragePodcast.com, you check out our t-shirts, all of our episodes, stuff like that. Anytime you buy something from us, we will be donating 20% to somebody who needs a little extra help, or who we feel is just doing badass and helping other people out in the community. We have Smiles on tonight. This is who we've been talking about for the past month and a half. Absolutely fell in love with Anomaly Archives. These guys need a little bit of help. So like I said, anything that you super chat to us, or that you guys purchase from us, we donate 20% to Smiles and Anomaly Archives. We also have a PayPal link where you can just donate directly to them. So if you don't want 20% and you want to donate all of it, then you go on ahead and you just click on that link and you help these guys out. If you're enjoying the conversation, this guy, he's got a lot of books. He's got a lot of books. He runs an archive. So, he's got a lot of knowledge in there. And my God, is it amazing. So you guys, thank you so much for everybody who's been donating and been helping out so far. Like I said, there is a link that you can donate directly to him. That's pretty much it. Thanks. I just wanted to put that out there because we're on live right now with the guy,
with the guy.
And thank you guys so much. I mean, you all have been a big help and a lot of support for us. And we just want to share that.
Well, and thank you. And I think that's so honorable of y'all to do that on a regular basis for all the people you've shared that with. So thank you so much.
Heck yeah.
Is it Oklahoma?
Yeah,
Oklahoma.
let's do a
Oklahoma, go for it, dude.
Let's do it.
You remember. I love it, dude. I love it. Thank you, Dr. Argon, so much, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're going to catch up. We try not to interrupt conversation with super chats, but we definitely try and call them out as much as we possibly can. So we'll go through. Smiles, if you gotta take a little quickie, man, by all means, go for it.
I'll take you out.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for y'all's donations tonight.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, Dave Scott, Mr. Crowley, Dr. Argon. I'm sorry if I'm missing anybody. I'm trying to go through the chats right now.
Ooh, I want to shout
Flash forward. Thank you so much, dude. Appreciate that. What's up, dude?
I want to shout out all of our YouTube members.
Yeah, dude.
We have so many members. Like it's been like 2 months since I've looked. I started noticing how many members that we have. I'm like, holy shit! Like we used to have 2. And I don't know an exact number, but there's a lot. And
we have 7.
I just want to shout out everybody that's a member on YouTube. If you're not a member, the perks are very simple. You're supporting the podcast, and there's like some cool emojis. And then if we remember, we will shout you out. But ultimately, it's just it's like $1 and then $5. There's two levels, but that's specifically on YouTube. So real quick, Alabama Tide, Michael Gutierrez, Dogface Boy, Jeremy Jurgensen, Kira Angel, Melissa Nicole, Oracles and Beyond, Texas Barbecue. I think that sounds familiar.
Texas Barbecue.
I
love it. Hey, by the way, you guys go check out Texas Barbecue, all right?
Barbecue, Texas-barbecue.com. That we couldn't afford the phone.
Michael Gutierrez, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. This is going to help out so much.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Appreciate that. Going through the line, Trippy Times Josh, what's up, dude? Thank you. Tim McCart, Nightmare, Paranormal Chop Shop, Sunny Brother, Fat Base, Larry A, Caleb Gardner, Gary Voorhees, what's up? Christopher Boehner, Norwegian Terrestrial, Marin Moon, Mr. Crowley, Spooky Morales, The JoJo Bone Show, JME Patton, and the Chad Smith. Actually, I think Chad Smith was the first member. So, I mean,
I think
he was at the first, at the bottom of the list. So, love that guy. Love everybody that that signed up to be a YouTube member. We do have plans this year to do like member only like content and shit to where like we could just hang out. We'll send you a notification like, hey, we're going to be live on a random day during the week. And we'll just bullshit.
Hey, we've got a new member right now, 509 Divine Pines.
Dude, 509, that's what's
Man,
up.
dude, he's been with us like since the beginning.
Yes, he has.
And that's so awesome to see that,
has.
man. I'm loving it. Travis Green, he says, I'm not a member. Fudge. It's all right, but you know what? You're sexy. So we're going to go ahead and shout you out anyways, Travis Green. And you got a beautiful voice like an angel. I'm telling you, that guy rocks, man. I love it. I love it, dude. Hey, thank you guys so much for the support. I mean, this is awesome. I mean, like, look, the goal here is that when you support us, you support people in the community. That's one of the biggest things for Ben and I. You know, we were like, man, we're so dumb. We can't do research, right? You know, like we're not investigative journalists. We don't hit we're not anything important. You know, that's the whole thing, man. But you know, we enjoy like-minded people. We built this little space to have you guys join in and chat with us and share your ideas and everything, all of your knowledge, and that's what this is, and it's so great. So like I said, when you guys support us, you also help support other people out there in the community who are doing amazing work. And man, we love you guys so much. I mean, we just hit this past weekend, we hit over 3,000 subs on YouTube. That's so great. If you guys haven't yet, go on ahead and like, subscribe, and hit that bell button so you know whenever we go live. And it's usually on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Sometimes on Tuesdays we do Topless Tuesdays. We haven't talked to Smiles about that yet, but he you know, we will. Maybe he'll come on with no shirt on. You know what I'm saying? He'll show the buff muscles like Ben and I do on Tuesdays sometimes.
Sometimes nips out.
Yeah, he nips out on Tuesdays. All right. Yeah,
we're nipping and we're dripping, baby.
Chad Smith gave a donation to the PayPal. Chad Smith, thank you so much, man. Dogface boy, he says, buy Joe a chair. Oh. Yeah, we're gonna start a separate donation link, PayPal donation link, where you can donate to buy me a chair. Because as you guys know, I'm currently just sitting on this box, and I've been sitting on this box for months now. So I'm just kidding. I get my own chair. To be honest with you, I'm just lazy.
You're not kidding though.
Ben has offered me a chair at least 30 times since we haven't been together, and I gotta say, I miss that chair, Ben. I miss the squeakiness, and I miss the way that it leans to the right a little bit.
The squeakiness.
Yeah.
Is it the squeak? Is it in this?
Is it the squeakies?
Is it the squeaking? I sat in it today. And it's very uncomfortable. I don't know how you like that chair, but
is it?
It needs some adjustments.
I am a animal of very few needs. Right? I'm very satisfied most of the time. So looks like Smiles is back. Let's get him back into the stream. Oh, it sucks that now both of us can control it, because you know you're so used to controlling it, and then I'm like, oh, let me control it. I'm the new guy.
I will happily let you do that. I get so stressed out doing it all, dude.
Hey, I don't know if you knew this, but please. I was trying to if you hit Shift at, it puts us in the side by side 3-screen mode. if you don't click in the chat thing. Yeah.
That's okay. That's what was happening earlier.
Yeah, that was me.
I kept trying. Oh, that was you.
I was trying to respond to people like at
I was
Tammy
too,
or
I
at
was
something,
too.
and I kept hitting shift at. So I taught you a computer thing. You're welcome, Ben.
It was so close. I thought, okay, we were both doing it. It wasn't just you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I kept forgetting which window I was in. Yeah.
Yes, man. Welcome back, man. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks for letting me take a break there.
Yeah, no worries, dude. No worries.
Oh,
Are you
yeah,
outside
dude.
now, dude? Are you?
I am on the back porch.
I like it.
That's
I
what's up,
like
dude.
it.
Got that golden light, mood lighting. I like it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. It
Oh,
it
yeah.
it accentuates the jawline. You know.
Yeah, man. So,
Yep.
Smiles, I've got a question for you, man. So, out of all of the cases that you've researched, what are you like most interested in right at this moment, or maybe something that you've gone back to, or what sticks out to you?
Really, I mean, for me, it's always been just the wealth of cases. There's just so many cases. But I did recently read that Valet book, Trinity, that I mentioned, that's about a pre-Roswell UFO crash. And as I said earlier, I've honestly, I was never a huge Roswell fan. I know so many people come to this and they're like, "Oh, Roswell, that's the linchpin. That's the thing that proves it all." It's like, well, to me, it always seemed like it stuck out like a sore thumb compared to the bulk of all these other close encounter cases and abduction cases. It's like it just didn't seem to fit. But there's so many other crash cases that form their own oeuvre of gravity. But the Trinity case just is, I find, really intriguing. Because it kind of fits in with a different take on the crashes than I had previously considered, and it's Valet going. If I haven't already given this impression, I am a huge Valet fanboy. Valet is my bread and butter. I think he's done more for the UFO research scene than anybody else.
Yeah, he's done a lot of great work.
And I've admitted to many people that I want to have his love child. So,
and you recently spoke with on the same stage as him recently.
Yeah, not at the same time, but yeah. So he's donated his collection to this Rice University archive. Sadly, there is a 10-year moratorium on public access. Which basically means as he's donating stuff there, that starts the 10-year countdown clock of when people can actually access his material. This is not that uncommon in archives, but as for folks like ourselves, we're like, God damn it, like, come on.
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
Wait, what kind of material are we talking about?
Well, so the thing that brought this up was one of the other things that he's donated to the community, to the world, is his journals. So he's published his own diaries. He's been journaling all his life, and he has published 4 volumes of his Forbidden Science journals, and each straddles like a decade. So like the first one was, I believe, the 60s, and then the second one was the 70s, the third one was the 80s, and the fourth one, his most recent, was the 1990s. And it's weird because the 1990s one, like as you're reading it, like all this stuff was coming out about Bigelow and the Skinwalker Ranch and Bob Lazar. All that was old is new again, or has been. And in this fourth volume is all the stuff from that period when he was working with Bigelow and hearing the daily stories and reports from Skinwalker Ranch. But in that book, he also made an allusion to, I saw a document that talked about the CIA faking alien abductions in Central and South America.
Okay.
Mm.
And so if that rings any bells, so there is a there has long been, I think since the 1970s, some documentation circulating by a guy who his name eludes me. I was trying to remember it just this weekend because of this this topic, but it's probably, but Vallée here is claiming something that we would love to get our hands on. You know, this alleged document that convinced him that this was actually probable or absolutely real. This idea that some, like, again, CIA MK Ultra style, some kind of experiments were going on in Central and South America to fake alien abductions. And the classic Via Boas case, which is one of my favorites, it predates the Betty and Barney Hill case by a couple of years, but wasn't known until after their case, is one of the cases that the author that I suspect is behind this document that Vallée is referencing, claims that he was privy to the CIA program. Well, that's part of this archive, but we can't read it. So
What
that's
the hell,
really
man?
frustrating. But yeah, his book Trinity, it's self-published, so it's not as, it needs a good editor, as one reviewer said. Wired magazine just did a really good interview with Vallée, and it gives a nice 1 or 2 paragraph synopsis of this book. And if you may recall, it kind of created its own controversy when, like, it had been, I think he first revealed that it was coming up on the Joe Rogan podcast, and within like a week or so, the Amazon listing like got removed, and then like it was replaced with something slightly different, and suddenly this other researcher, Paulo Harris, was listed as his co-author. And a lot of my skeptic friends are not a fan of hers and think that she's really not very discerning in her endorsement of certain cases. And so they're immediately like very critical. They're back to being very critical of Vallée. And certainly Vallée, as much as he's thought of as being a rational scientist, you know, his ideas are kind of paranormal. They're kind of like straddling that, you know, science and versus trying to understand the unknown, and realizing that science is a good tool, but it's not necessarily the end all and be all. But yeah, there's so much criticism of him, just straight out the gate, like book unread, sight unseen. Paola Harris, like, oh my God, you know, this is too gauche. But thankfully, I got the book and read it faster than I read most books. I am not as fast of a reader as I used to be, and I don't know. I was really taken by this book, this idea of these, you know, 9 and 11, I think was the age of the kids back in 45 when this event supposedly occurred, that involves seemingly a crash saucer in San Antonio, not Texas, San Antonio, New Mexico, very close to and immediately following the first detonation of the atomic bomb near the Trinity site. And I tell you, you know, it's got like kind of insectoid mantis like aliens in it as far as the entities that are seen by the kids.
Yeah.
You know, but and I get why people would be critical of this case, because you know, the witnesses, these kids that were literally just like the youngest ranch hands you can imagine back in 1945. But if anybody's, you know, anybody who's lived on a rural farm or ranch, you know, your staff, you know, you're born, and it's like, that's why they had you. You know, your parents are like, you're gonna be doing time on the farm. But so these kids were like, you know, rustling cattle and out on their horses, and heard and saw something, and went to investigate, and saw this crash object, and this avocado shaped craft or object, and these seemingly insectoid mantis, maybe like, or what's the what do they call them? Those
Mantids?
it's kind of a biblical word, not Jeremiah, but there's a certain type of cricket
Locust.
Nah, I'm just
Cicada?
blanking. No. Those are all yes. I know what you're describing. It's these.
I'm good on my bug knowledge, dude.
Like, no,
Yeah,
shut up, Ben.
No. It's anyway. These the colloquial is children of the earth is one translation of this kind of giant ant-like looking creatures. Anyway. It's a fascinating case. There's definitely something definitely fucking happened.
Yeah.
Like they have an independent account from a pilot who was flying over at the time and made a report saying, yeah, I saw that there was some kind of crashed aircraft or some kind of crashed object in this area. There's a lot of really weird high strangeness aspects of it, which immediately piques my interest. One of the witnesses has passed away. There you go. What is that called?
El Niño de la Tierra.
The son of the dirt? Of the earth?
Child of the earth. But
Jerusalem.
It's like Jerusalem cricket.
The old bald man.
Jerusalem cricket.
Look how cute. He's a cute little bug.
Apparently those
guy.
things get really big, like not like human size were described, but like big enough to scare most
Oh no.
Big enough you ain't trying to mess with that.
Yeah. I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
Quarter. That's a quarter, bro.
It looks like those like scorpion spider things in the desert.
Yeah.
I don't like
so
it.
I don't think I even really was aware of these until the classic Roswell investigators Tom Carey and Don Schmidt were comparing the creatures seen at Roswell to these, because apparently I think some locals there's one now. Look at that alien right there.
That guy. It was like
I don't know, dude, but
in a sea of crickets, this guy pops up.
He is the Jerusalem cricket.
It's the father of all Jerusalem.
Call me the Jerusalem cricket.
So this case is fascinating, but it's like, well, what can you do with it from happening in 1945? And these kids, they didn't really talk about it to anybody in the UFO community until several years ago. And so it's a new case, even though it's very, very old and predates Roswell. So I know at least one MUFON investigator, and this is another, sorry to slam MUFON again, but so MUFON did a cover article on their journal about the case, and it was Paola Harris's article, and they were having her as their lead speaker at one of the conferences. And the special investigative team were asked to investigate the case, and they came away going, yeah, this seems really ridiculous and unreliable based on, they focused on two aspects. There were some weird plants that apparently were found to be growing above where the wreckage supposedly was. And then there was also a supposed pieces of metal associated with the crash debris. And this one particular piece of metal, it looks like, dude, y'all as garage guys, you will probably look at that and be like, oh, that's a such and such hinge on a 57 Chevy or whatever. Except it's actually been identified as more akin to a windmill part. And well, one of the parts of the story is that this avocado-shaped craft while it was crashing hit a windmill or a tower of some sort. And it's one of these cases where it's just weird. But
yeah,
one of the stranger aspects that Valake intimates is this idea, and it kind of goes back to Diana Pasulka's American Cosmic, this idea that there are these crash sites where you can just go and pick up debris and you examine it scientifically or with good scientific instrumentation and discover, well, it's not that it couldn't be made on Earth, but nobody seems to be making stuff like this, or maybe it needs to be made in zero gravity, or just very strange, peculiar properties.
Yeah.
which of course goes back into the whole Bigelow and all this crash debris that he was investigating, seemingly funded partly by this ATIP money, this Pentagon program money.
Mhm.
But yeah, that case, this Trinity case that Valet, so he hooked up with Paulo Harris because she'd already been investigating this, and you know, in some ways, I was a little surprised too that he hooked up with her, just because I didn't really know much about her research, but I did know that she seemed to tend towards more of a less rigorous scientific investigation style. But you know, I've expanded my horizons and looked at it myself and read his book, and you know, he's, like I say, he's somebody who I trust, but I will say he's always had his foot on the inside and the outside. Yes, he's, you know, published the book on the Invisible College because he was, you know, keeping he and his other colleagues research on the down low.
Yeah.
But he's also always had security clearances.
Right.
Yup.
So like and he said at this conference this past weekend, you know, he's like, when he was helping start the original remote viewing program out at Stanford Research Institute, SRI, in California, where Hal Puthoff, Austin's own Hal
Austin.
Puthoff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was gonna ask you earlier, is he circling around in those consciousness groups?
Where can we get
in Austin?
I wish I had bumped into him.
We're trying to get him on Topless Tuesday right now, and he doesn't
Yeah,
seem
he
to be
has not answered
responding.
any of
I don't
our emails.
understand it. I don't know.
We just want to see. We just want to see Pudov's nippies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't
I
know.
don't know about it. Shit.
Well, then he can come on Thursday and wear a T-shirt. Okay. Like, we gave him options.
Yeah,
Did we get
he's a fascinating fellow, and he's been at the center of so many of these. I mean, it was so amazing to discover that he was part of the DeLong's TTSA. It was like, okay, so, and also the, you know, he was one of the consultants for this Pentagon program. So like with the remote viewing program,
Yeah.
you know, that remote viewing program went on for about 20 years for about $23 million. That is chump change for these kinds of programs. And yet, to my estimation, they did amazing work. I mean, I know I have skeptic friends who think that, you know, all the remote viewing stuff is crap and bullshit, but I honestly, I think parapsychology data is some of the best out there. You know, there's this revolution in science right now, or kind of a crisis of this whole idea of science and replicability, you know, being able to replicate the findings of another researcher. And that's the foundation of science, is this replicability, you know, being able to reproduce the exact same results as the person who made the claim in the first place. And now there's all this evidence that seems to be a real problem out there in the real world. But as somebody at this conference this past weekend said, not with parapsychology data. They have some of the most rigorous replicability. So anyway,
it's really cool, man. Like, it's also very challenging too, because, you know, you start looking at these guys, you know, Hal Puthoff or Jacques Vallée or any, you know, it's some of the other names, you know, and geez, man, like, some of these guys start talking, and then you start looking into things like the Invisible College or the Theoretical Physics Working Group, aka aviary stuff, and you're like, whew, okay, I like what they said, but at the same time, like, you were talking about this whole like recreation of the phenomena to kind of persuade people in a certain way, and like, to me, some of these people like fall into that category.
Yeah.
And then I'm the same way though, dude. I love Jacques Vallée simply for the fact that he believes in science and he thinks it's great, but also he doesn't believe it to be the end all be all, you know, to use your words. And I love that about the guy. You know, I love hearing scientists say, yeah, I do science, but also there's a lot of shit I can't explain with science. I love when scientists say that.
Yeah.
Man, it makes me so happy. You know, I love that. And so it adds a little bit of trust to some of those people. And at the same time, you always got to keep your little guard up a little bit, use a little discernment with it. But then they get into some stuff that you're like, I'm not even smart enough to understand what he's saying. How do I know? I'm just a dummy,
I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, in this conference this weekend, when Valet was alluding to that remote viewing research, he was right at the forefront of helping get this program off the ground, and he said this weekend, I advocated for some of this stuff being kept secret. And that was largely because, again, this was being funded by the military industrial complex, the intelligence agencies, so that they could use it for spycraft. And, part of the other presentation at this weekend's conference was Edwin May. Edwin May ran these programs, the Stargate program, Grillframe, and all its other many names. Dude, I got to walk with him from the hotel to the conference, and dude. I was so like, I didn't know what to say. I was just like, I was such a fanboy, but like, I'm part of these organizations that just have tried to emulate your inspirational research, and he's pretty funny. So he had some bad jokes, but he got up and did his presentation. So Edwin May's archives are at the Archives of the Impossible at Rice University. There's so many amazing collections there. Like the three biggest ones would be Valet, Edwin May, and Whitley Strieber, the communion letters. Thousands of these letters that were written to he and Ann Strieber in the wake of the communion books publication. But there's so many other stuff there. But Edwin May got up and did his presentation on parapsychology research, and he also did a whole big section on the Russians, because of course the Russians were avidly investigating all this stuff at the same time. And boy, was it timely, given, I swear to God, man, during this conference, my friend from Sweden, Klaus, who I just met this first time, at one point during one of the lectures, he leans over to me and he shows me his phone. And the headline is, "The Russians are shelling a nuclear power plant." And I'm just like, oh my God, man, please, why did you show me that? I cannot deal with that right now. But, we're not isolated. We're still living in this crazy world, but Valet, yes, always had his foot in both camps. And it's that spooky world of the intelligence community that I respect. That he's, obviously he's a high roller. He's literally a capitalist investor. That's how he invests in high tech, and has always been at the cutting edge. But that also ends up involving in, as you were saying with Lou, those NDAs, those non-disclosure agreements. In the case of Lou and government employees, it's more than an intellectual property NDA. It's a, this is national fucking security, and you will not spill your guts.
Yeah. Nobody will lock you up, and nobody will ever hear from you again. Type shit.
Guantanamo Bay type shit. Scary shit.
Yeah. They're like, Lou, you ran that place. You know what happens at Guantanamo Bay.
You brought it up, man. I'm still waiting for some kind of real expose on Lou. And everybody I know who's met him has just the nicest things to say about him, and he seems like such a nice guy. And so I'm not trying to impugn his character, but his involvement with that aspect of the war on terror just terrifies me. But he seems like such a nice guy. I can't wait to meet him someday.
He seems like a great guy. Like I told him on the first time we interviewed him, it's like, hey Lou, I'm so skeptical of you, but you seem like a nice dude, like, you get it, right? Given the history of the subject, like people dying and stuff, like we're a little skeptical. You get it, don't you? He's like, yeah, I get it.
Well,
he gets it. As long as he gets it.
The origins of this whole disclosure, such as it is, are really creepy. With Tom DeLonge's, with the emails that came out through WikiLeaks, this is the one thing, and from my essay again that I harp on a lot, and that's that email between him and Podesta, between DeLong and Podesta, where and these other generals or whoever these highfalutin military types are that he's trying to get this ball rolling on. He says this whole project is about revitalizing the negative image that my generation has of, and younger generations have of, the military industrial complex. We want to try to explain to them why you did what you did and why it was right. And I the moment I read that, I was like, fuck that, man. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I respect our people in service, but you do not follow unlawful orders.
Right.
But I know this is a complex issue, and I'm not trying to throw anybody under
I
the
love
bus.
this issue. I love it.
So, but it's why I've been so skeptical of this whole the whole TTSA thing from the very beginning. And I really think it's obvious now that that DeLong was used as most useful idiots are. He was a means to an end to get this ball rolling on this weird media campaign. And again, I believe that it seems like Elizondo and Mellon and the others who have been facilitating this, they seem to have legitimate personal interest in these things. And that's why I'm really like, God, you got to get out of Lou what those personal experiences are, because he still won't crack on that.
I know, man, he won't. But maybe if we go visit him in Idaho, we crack open a bottle of whiskey and just start turning some wrenches.
Maybe he'll
say something, right?
Crispy boys.
The thing is, he's like, hey, look, I'm doing a service to the American people by not saying anything. And I'm like, hey, Lou, I'm an American. Will you fucking spill your guts, please? Do me a service. All right?
Just whisper it in my ear. Come on.
Tell me.
Oh, you haven't even touched your Jägermeister.
Yeah.
Go.
We're going to be all hammered, drunk.
It was chilled.
Lou.
And you won't remember what he tells you the next day.
I know. We're going to be
That's
all
the
yeah.
best.
We'll have to wear our Secret Space Force hats with slinkies and put cameras in them, dude, so that way we don't forget shit.
Oh my God. We'll go in bugged.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
Hey,
Like,
speak into the microphone.
What'd you say about that thing, Lou?
I'm just pinching my nipple, dude. This is what I do, man.
I'm assuming here, but I would assume that, like, if you walked in with a bug on you, like, some shit would go off in Lou's house to let you know that you're bugged. Like, before you even came up the driveway, they'd be like, oh, this guy's bugged. Yeah. That's crazy shit.
Bug.
All of which is to say, my good friend Greg Bishop did his book Project Beta about the Paul Benowitz case, the case where here's a electronics expert who actually worked with the Air Force and the military, did contracts, but he was really fucked over by AFSI, the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, and various other NSA, CIA, God knows how many alphabet agencies, because he was seeing and recording things happening on the base that he wasn't supposed to. And you can read a variety of versions of this story. Greg's book, Project Beta, Chris Lambright's X Descending, and my good friend Adam Gorightly's book, what's it called? Actually, this is the other book that I read recently that just was one of the fastest reads I've ever read. And all the whole Alien Underground Base, all the Majestic 12 documents, all the classic 80s, 90s crazy UFO stuff about military and alien treaties and weird underground bases stuff is explicated in these books, but particularly in the most recent one, Adam Gorightly's books, which I think is called Spooks, Kooks, and Saucer Spies or something like that. I had it in my office. I was going to show it, but really fun, quick read and a great overview of all this stuff. And if that's your thing, like that's a great place to start, and then you can dive into all the details. But it all comes back to playing the game. And I've not really done this myself, thankfully, because it can lead you down some really crazy dark rabbit holes of paranoia. It leads you into what they call chapel perilous, where the dark night of the soul, where you either come out changed on the other side, or you don't come out and you're either crazy or dead. But there's so much of this that has that feel, and especially, and it's the same thing for the experiencers, and they may not actually it may be different. They're not interacting necessarily with the spooks and of the saucer trade, the alphabet agency folks. But they're going through their own chapel perilous, so to speak. They're going through a dark night of the soul, where they're trying to make sense of their reality. And so I guess what I'm saying is, beware which threads you pull on, and which avenues and which dark alleys you go down. You may want to steer clear of some stuff.
Right. Yeah, man, that Benowitz case, man, like, I forgot what was the name of that documentary? Men of Mystery or Mystery Men?
Mirage Men.
Dude, I had to watch that shit like 5 times to be like,
dude, that one was.
Some of the stuff I was like, wait, what did you just say? Like,
yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh my god.
Excellent book. There's a book called Mirage Men by Mark Pilkington. And he and his filmmaker friends did the documentary based on that. Great stuff. But yeah, there again, it's focusing on what I'll call the UFOs, the FAUX, the false faux UFOs, the human manipulation factor, which, as I said earlier, is something I think people should be very careful about and aware of. But it's not necessarily what is really going on as far as what the true UFO phenomena is, whatever that might be, whether it's extraterrestrial, Gaia herself. That's the planetary poltergeist aspect of my essay. I did seed that in the essay, even though it focuses on the human aspect. But this idea that I think that, to me, the UFO phenomena, and if I'm going to sum up my ideas here, perhaps to end my contribution to this wonderful evening, is that we are living we're living within an organism, and this organism allows us access to everywhere and every when, and that is the nature of psychic phenomena, that we have access to all points in time, all points in space, all information. That is the nature of consciousness. And there are places on this planet where the veil is thinner and we have more direct access to that. And there are technologies and circumstances that we can utilize to gain access to that, whether it's psychedelic drugs in some cases or psychotronic technologies that affect human consciousness, just through simple things like, hey man, the most ancient mind control technology, fire. Staring into the fire pit. The flickering lights, rhythmic sounds, rhythmic vibrations, all of these things can entrain your brainwaves and cause altered states of consciousness. This is how the Monroe Institute patented the hemisync technology of inducing altered states of consciousness, aka, in their case, out-of-body experiences.
Yes.
All these things can be used to gain access to this other realm. And that other realm, psychic phenomena, is how this anomalous cognition, anomalous information transfer, aka ESP, this is how other consciousness and intelligence can interact with us. So when I think of the UFO phenomena, I think of it as being a transpersonal virtual reality communications channel. And by that I mean Stanislav Grof, the pioneer of LSD psychotherapy, talked about transpersonal experiences, these experiences that seem to be go beyond normal everyday experiences. And in his case, he patented holotropic breathwork. He patented breathing, dudes.
I was gonna say, dude, that
like basically hyperventilating, like creating an altered state of consciousness through your breathing. I mean, and what is all just basic yoga and basic, meditation is just getting in control of your breathing. It's all about attaining different levels of consciousness through the basic thing.
Thinking about my breathing. Oh God.
Can you hear? I'm heavy breathing into the microphone. So but what we know from these altered states of consciousness and parapsychology research is they facilitate communication with our higher selves, with these other things that we call aliens, we call others, we don't, because we don't really know truly what they are, who they are, where they're from. But whatever the fuck they are, they can often impart knowledge, and they can often help us inform our lives. And they just seem to give us access to this realm that we can. I mean, the secrets of the universe are just right there, right here with us right now. We just have to get in that right mode and tap into that.
Dude,
and
yes.
and
Yes.
everything is consciousness. So, if when I think of it was something Lou said in y'all's last interview when he was talking about the biomass of the planet, and like, oh, suddenly we discover microorganisms, and guess what? They outweigh us on this planet. It was like, well,
Yeah.
what if all these things have consciousness of some variety or another? And we talk about Jungian, Carl Jung, the psychotherapist, and his ideas of the collective unconscious, and old ancient ideas about the Akashic records, and all these ideas about this other realm that we can access, this non-local, non-temporal, everything is everywhere all the time. It's all just information. It's all just information, and we can tap into that. But then what? How these alien others, are they so alien? Are we encountering the archetypes of our own collective unconscious in a Jungian way? Are these the consciousness of the planet? Are these Gaia? Are these the organism of the planet herself, trying to get us ready for off-world encounters? Like, oh, all these UFO alien abductions, that's all just hallucination I induced as Gaia to prepare you for the real thing when it finally comes. Maybe not. Probably not. Planetary poltergeist, man. We are haunted by phantasms, these physicalized thought forms, these tulpas. They are the thing. All these things make up these. They create the myths that inform our religions and our culture. And I think it's about time that we kind of step back, maybe, and reevaluate and choose. Or as Whitley Strieber, I think, said, we need better science fiction so that our UFO encounters are not so weirdly retro. I don't know.
I love that.
There's a lot more I could say about that, but suffice to say, I think that there are mechanisms for us to encounter all variety of other consciousnesses. And if there are other extraterrestrials, which there's got to be, right, on other planets, the psychic phenomena that we've investigated would facilitate them not having to even physically come here.
Right.
If everything we know about psychic phenomena is true, that time is not, or rather, distance is not a factor, then they could be using the same transpersonal virtual reality communications channel to just like, again, like Contact, like the movie Contact with Jodie Foster,
Yes.
like she, in a split second, and has this whole long encounter, the Rip Van Winkle effect, where, oh, I'm appearing as your father because, well, that's what you can deal with,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's something that Strieber and so many others, this comes up over and over again. The connection between the afterlife and the dead and the UFO experience, and that seems dark and weird, but it's actually it may actually be maybe part of the key. I don't know.
Dude.
I can't wait till the video is posted for this weekend's conference, man. They live streamed the main big wig speakers, Valet, Strieber, Diana Pasulka, Leslie Kane. And Leslie Kane, like, everybody's like, oh, she's the UFO lady. She did that, New York Times. She is. Have you seen her Afterlife series? Well, that's what her lecture was about. Was old school spiritualism,
That's
old
what's up.
school,
Yes.
like, man,
Cool.
people talking to the dead and then wandering, like, manifesting through ectoplasm.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
wow, we're like, I mean, on some levels, I'm like, have we not made any progress? And on other level, I'm like, that is.
I've got this
coolest
Polaroid
thing.
with snot on it. I swear to God.
Dan Aykroyd can't be wrong.
Yes. God, dude, that
I love it.
was
I love it.
friggin' beautiful. That was a great way to sum it up. I want to hit on a couple things just really quick. One, you had mentioned fire, and right here at my house in the backyard, I won't mention any names, but we're sitting there with a
Crystal with a K.
a pretty big experiencer and a friend of his, and we're just kind of hanging out, and he's smoking a cigarette, and he lights his lighter, and then he kind of just stares at it for a second, and he's staring at it, and I look over at him, and all of a sudden his friend kind of notices what's happening. She hits him and says, "Stop it. Stop it. You know they're going to show up if you look into it too long. They've done it a couple times before. Stop it." Like, she was not having it because she had experienced this with him, where that trance, that fire, that original, like, technology of man, like, it just puts you in this state. And I think, dude, that, like, it completely blew my mind when you said fire. I was like, holy shit, that's exactly what I thought about. And the trance and the communication between these realms, or whoever this is, or whatever this is, the communication, the mindset that you're in when you stare at fire. God. And I, for a second, was freaking out too. I was like, dude, you better, if that's true, because at this point, right, I'm still like, okay, I believe you, right. And then he starts looking at this flame, and I'm like, don't you have something show up in my backyard, dude? Don't you goddamn do it. And then the next day, I totally became a believer. We'll just say that.
Yeah.
Yes, dude. But yes,
Like,
your
that Crystal with a
explanation,
K
dude,
thing was totally on accident, by the way. That's not her name. You had made that joke a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
That's not her name.
Me, Crystal with a K.
Crystal with a K.
Drinking Zima, right?
Sleep.
And on the back porch. And then the second thing, man, was, dude, man, you're such a badass dude. I absolutely had a great time with you. This has been one of my favorite shows. It's such a long time. Dude, you're local. You're right here with us. We need to start doing like a once a month, Smiles episode where you come on, we talk about the Anomaly Archives, we kind of promote it, we start, we get a little more buzz about it. Dude, I mean, I'm sure you do a lot of stuff. This is just one extra little thing. So if you have a little bit of time once a month, dude, we'd love to have you on, just chit chat, because, dude, we could sit here and talk for hours, literally. And I would love to have that opportunity to just be able to chat with you way more often than we have. That would be awesome.
Well, thank you. That's very nice of you to say, and I would love to do that with y'all. And there's always something new to talk about. Sometimes old, like I say, old is new. Sometimes I'm like, wasn't this the thing like 20 years ago? But
Yeah.
it's so interesting, man. I would love to. I'd be honored, and I've been honored to be on your show. Thank you so much. I'm so proud of y'all.
Thank
Y'all
you, man.
really. I mean, I remember when I first found y'all, and I was like, wow, okay, great, new podcast, new UFO podcast. Yeah, they're local. That's cool. And next thing I know, I'm like, wow, they have really made this work. And you're just. I like with the documentary. I can't wait to see that, and I would love to be on the show again. So thank you so much. And
Dude,
Heck yeah, man.
absolutely, man. Absolutely.
You know what we should do? We should have like once a month we review a movie. I know you're big into movies as well, right?
Yeah.
So we should swap movie ideas. We should like review that movie. That would be cool.
That would be
Sure,
kinda
man.
Cool. Yes.
pop culture is where it's at.
Hell
yeah,
like
you're-
alien movies though, like not just
The
like
specifics
you've
of
got
the
mail,
Like Shrek.
like like a classic alien movie. Yes,
Ogres are cryptids, dude. Everybody knows that. Ogres are cryptids.
I've literally got Shrek 2. I've got Shrek 2 playing right now, dude. It's literally
Synchronicity.
Body, what? Yeah.
Yes, dude. And then we'll review our favorite Smash Mouth album. Hell yes. Yeah.
Smiles,
All right.
dude. Hey, we love you, brother. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank
tonight,
you.
man.
Thank you guys so much. Really enjoyed it. And, we'll be seeing each other soon. And I can't wait to be in studio with y'all again. I'm sure y'all looking forward to being in each other's presence again soon. I know you have your reasons for being at your separate locations, but and congrats again for your bringing folks into the world, and your families, and
Thank you, man.
God bless all of you and each and every one.
Heck yeah, man. Awesome, brother. Hey, great night, man. Can't wait to talk to you again. We'll stay in contact very soon, man. We'll be hitting you up, all right?
Okay.
All right, brother.
Peace,
We'll talk
dude.
to you later, man.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Yes, sir. Bye. Oh, man. Fuck, dude. That was so great.
Smiles Lewis. Dude, I love that guy.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes your body just fills up with like, you know, and this was one of those nights for sure, man.
100. I needed that so bad. Just like, just the energy. Honestly, dude, he's just a great guy. He has a lot of information, and to hear like his perspective is so refreshing. Even though he's been in this subject for so long and knows so many people and has done so much shit.
Yeah,
it's
TV,
so refreshing.
radio, all kinds of stuff, man.
Like you talk to a lot of guys that have been in this industry for a really long time, and I mean, it's a human thing to be jaded. Like, oh, I'm not this or I'm not that. This dude is just focused on figuring out what's going on and just enjoying life and researching and meeting other people that are interested in this stuff. Like, just man, I love it so much. It's like he definitely matched our wavelength, you know, immediately. Like when we met the guy, we were like, this is one of us. Yeah.
You know, just way smarter.
way smarter.
And
like, just dude, his perspective on stuff, dude, like, man, it needs to be shared. I love that. I love that. The summarizing at the end, man. Because I kind of asked a big question, like an hour in, and I was like, "Oop, maybe should have waited for that one." But like, we eventually got to it, right? Like,
yes.
It's I thought it was very interesting that like, someone who has read as much as Smiles has and has an archive, literally an archive. You know, if you ask them their favorite case, like, hey, I don't have a favorite case. Like, I'm just in this. Like, every day is changing. Like, that's such a great answer. I love that so much, dude.
Me too, man. Me too. Guys, if y'all enjoyed the show, if y'all enjoyed what Smiles had to say, man, like I said earlier, Anomaly Archives. Smiles at Anomaly Archives, man. That's who we've been talking about for over a month now, and donating to help them out, man. They need a new home. They've got so much information, and they're a nonprofit. They're literally there for you to show up and absorb as much information as you possibly can. I mean, dude, the amount of like old MUFON cases and the zine magazines and VHS tapes that are available for you, dude, I mean, are absolutely amazing. I mean, Ben and I fell in love with this place from the moment we Googled it. I just so much amazing information. Like I said, you guys go to the website. Anytime you buy a t-shirt, a sticker, a mug, a koozie, a pair of Dave Scott face panties, whatever it is that you buy from us, 20% of that goes to helping out Anomaly Archives. It goes to helping these guys out, man, because we feel like information is power. And if people who have information don't have the ability to spread that information, then it's useless, man. And there's so much great stuff. They have so much great stuff. Anytime y'all purchase anything from us, 20% of that goes to helping them out. We also have a link, PayPal link, that you can donate directly to Anomaly Archives and help them out. We're trying to find them a new home. We're trying to help them pay some rent. We want them to be open. And I don't know if this is selfish, but I want to help them because I want to go back so bad. I want to go back so bad. I want to go see it. I want to look through these books. And I want to rent some shit, right, and bring it home with me. And that's another cool thing about Anomaly Archives, dude. Is you can have a little membership, and you can go in and you can rent books and take them home and read them. And I guarantee you, you don't have any of these books. These books are amazing. I've never seen anything like it. When I went in there a couple years ago, I took a few pictures, right? I took a few pictures, maybe like 10 pictures, and from then on out, I have literally been Googling stuff like every week of something that I saw at the Anomaly Archives, and I learned something new and fascinating every week. They have books that look just like this. They're even older.
Old books.
They are so old. Ben may have or may not have touched one. We're gonna go with may not have touched one, right? They're amazing.
I did not disintegrate one with my breath.
We don't even know what's inside of it because we were so scared to look at it.
In my favorite video game, Skyrim, when you open up a charred book, it disintegrates. There's no. Well, I made it up. It doesn't. It's just like nothing inside of it.
Anomaly Archives has Skyrim books.
I mean, if they did, I would read every one. I read a lot of the Skyrim books. They're very short. They're very very palatable for an individual like I.
Yes, man. Yes, dude.
This is what Anomaly Archives is, dude. It's
Dude, it looks.
It's exactly what it is.
It looks like that. When you get to the room where the Hocus Pocus book is, that's what it looks like. It looks exactly like that.
That's it. There's candles already lit.
I don't know if you guys know what this 1600 smells like, but it smells like that special room, dude.
Yeah.
I've never smelt anything like that before.
Right. What's this?
Yeah, it's hey,
butts.
booties. I like it. What's the name of that book? I'm gonna Google it in a second.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Give me in a minute.
Druna. Okay, yeah, I'm buying that.
Can we get a larger photo of this?
Zoom in, enhance.
What is this guy doing with the whip? He's just
enhance.
This looks very okay.
It's very sexual.
Yeah, very sexual. Also very violent. I don't know. This guy's his arms backwards. This guy's arms backwards. She's just like, I'm eating a cheeseburger.
Spank me, daddy. I love it. I love it.
My name Crystal. My name Crystal with a K.
Crystal with a K.
Anyway, what I wanted to say is,
what?
Sorry, I got distracted.
What,
I was like, because in Skyrim, the arrow pouch is not on the butt; it's on the back. That's inaccurate.
Right.
Even for a female character. Anyway, so Anomaly Archives, dude. Smiles, Lewis, dude. We were talking backstage before he hopped on. Like, we started looking at the people he was talking to on stage at the Rice University thingy. And, dude, he shared the stage with, like, the people in this community. Like,
a lot of them. Absolutely.
That know some stuff, you know?
They know some stuff, or they know some people that know some stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
What's funny too is his perspective on, like, when I asked him the question about, like, where the line is drawn between personal truth and belief and then, like, actual fact, which again was probably like a two-parter question, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought his answer was really, really awesome, because it spoke to not only just the zeitgeist of the community as a whole, where at a certain point, when enough people are aware of something, it becomes political. And then at this current climate, dude, it's just so volatile, man. And nothing gets done. It's so frustrating. Oh God, I've been seeing it. We're like, at the end of the day, where you're like so amped up about something, and then if you really take a step back and look at what you're like excited about or amped up about, and you look at the actual facts and what happened and who we're talking about and what the information is we're trying to get, are we really learning anything, or are we just like gossiping?
Yeah, it's just gossip. A lot of it is gossip. It absolutely is, man. It absolutely is. And like,
I don't have enough time in my day for that right now. Like, just I don't have time for that.
isn't it so weird though, like how something like the Anomaly Archives exists, right? And while they may have, a lot of supporters at the time that, like, COVID hit, and then rent prices jacked up, right? And then the Anomaly Archives had to shut down. Then all of a sudden the government wants to be like, hey, UFOs are real, everybody. We're going to take this serious.
Yeah.
I'm sure Smiles was like, you God
son of a
damn it.
bitch.
God damn it. I've been doing this for years and nobody has taken it seriously.
Telling you.
And now that I have to shut down, you motherfuckers come out with a goddamn thing that says
Take all
nothing.
the credit. Take
right?
all the credit.
You take and something that would like boost interest in like people wanting to visit the Anomaly Archives.
Yeah.
And now you come out with it when I have you sons of bitches, right?
See, that would have been the perfect time to have the Anomaly
Anomaly
Archives available to the public.
Would you like to know more information about what the government is talking about right now? Go visit the Anomaly Archives on 2nd Street, Austin, Texas, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck? You want to talk about those negative synchronicities? That's one of them, dude, right? But I have faith in this, man. It's such a great place. There's so much information, and I know that they're looking for a steady funding operation to help them out. And I would love to do anything we possibly can to help them out. But like, it's like you would think in Austin that they could be like, hey, Torchies. Right? Let me just open the archive right behind you, so that everybody that comes in the archive then leaves and goes to Torchies, right? Like you would think like a Austin-based company would be like, yeah, that's dope. Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah.
See, Torchies would be the perfect place to go to. I bet they would invest.
I don't know, man. Like
I'm so hungry.
Shit. Like I would love to open the garage studio on top with the Anomaly Archives on the bottom.
Why do we have to be at the tops, dude?
Because like the top is probably smaller. I don't know. I don't know.
More lightweight. Lightweight.
If I'm being totally honest, you know what I'm saying? Smiles seems like a power bottom, So he seems like the power bottom kind of a guy. So I feel like we'd have to be on top.
I absolutely agree with that statement.
Yeah, dude.
Well, the idea, I mean...
And Smiles, if you're still watching, dude, I know you guys want to stay locally in Austin, but hey, Taylor is growing and rent is cheap as fuck. And if you ever decide you want to sell that...
It's not cheap, though.
I mean, it's cheaper than Austin.
It is cheaper than Austin.
It's cheaper than Austin.
It's cheaper than Austin.
Yeah.
So, like...
And we wouldn't even charge you rent, dude, if you were on the bottom and we were on the top, right? You just let us come in and check out books whenever we want,
Yeah. So the idea, though, Joe, I mean, just for people listening that haven't heard of this, there in the city of Taylor, Texas, downtown, there's a building. It's this old bank building. Think Ghostbusters, dude. Like, it is a classic ass building. It would be Ghostbusters, that style, like, dope, dude. So bottom floor, right? The thought is build a bar and have like alien UFO conspiracy type things with like booths, right? And then the top floor is the whole studio. And
so Nico just came up with a brilliant idea. He says, no, dudes, a bar on the bottom floor, then the studio, and then the archives. And then you have a beer garden on top on the roof. That's why we hang out with Nico. He's got good ideas.
Nico's the smartest guy we know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he's a smart dude.
But the roof thing though on top, man. I thought that's where we
Yeah.
were parking our 64,
Telescopes?
64
And
Impala.
yeah, but we have to have like a little garage thing that goes down like a
Oh,
spiral
shit.
road
Yeah,
that goes around the building.
like a Polly Pocket.
Unless we can actually make it hover and float off of the building and come down and fly off.
I'm pretty close to the hover thing. So
You are, dude?
yeah.
Those magnets in your office chair? How'd that work out?
I literally have two magnets stuck in between betwixt my privet parts.
It's just magnifying all your sperm. It's you're sitting on it and you don't even know it, but it's actually pulling and lengthening your ball sack.
Yeah.
So before you even hit 40, it's gonna be like dipping in the toilet bowl, dude.
Well, that's a whole.
Because I don't know if you know this, but your blood has iron in it. So when magnets are attached to it, it can shift and pull your body.
Well,
right?
the whole reason I did it was to lengthen my ball sack.
No, dude, you want to lengthen your cock. Otherwise, you
No,
just have like these
no,
long
you
ass
told
balls
me it
with a
was all
tiny
about
wiener.
You told me it was all about the ball length. You told me that. I invested so much in this. You said
Chicks love long balls, dude. What can I say? They love long balls. They love tiny dicks and long balls.
that's exactly what you told me. So I went out and I spent $15,000. Dude, I sold my damn car. I
To
did.
refinance my house. All to make this secret CIA office chair that will lengthen my balls. We stole those documents from the Invisible College.
I have a document from the Invisible College. You can't see it because it's invisible. It says the longer the balls, the longer you live.
That's right, dude.
Prove
That's
me
right.
wrong. The longer the balls, the longer you live.
Well, dude, this has been an amazing episode. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
This has been a lot of fun.
yeah.
A lot of fun. I had a great time tonight.
I had a very good time tonight. You know why?
Thank you. What's up?
What?
Why?
What were you
Why,
gonna say?
dude? No, I was going to say thank you to everybody, but
Well,
I realized I cut you off and I apologize.
No,
Continue.
honestly, I was going to say the same thing because I had such a great time because we saw. Look, I mean, everybody's still in the chat. There's still more people than we usually get on a Thursday night. So
Yeah.
I'm just feeling very thankful for everybody supporting the show and hanging out. Like that's so cool.
Yeah, we got like 3 new members tonight, man.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Yes. Yes.
That's why it's one of the best shows in a while. Just 'cause,
That's how you know we're reaching the masses.
Yeah,
We're reaching the masses with the asses. You know what I'm
Dude,
saying?
We're talking about that butts, dude.
Yeah.
Where's that butt photo? Where did that butt photo that I found? Hold on.
Q butt photo.
Ah, shit. It was a book. I lost
I don't
it.
even remember the name of it. I'm going to have to listen back to the episode now. I'm going to fast. No, this is one of those episodes where I am definitely going to listen back to the whole thing, actually. That was so great.
Yeah.
That was so great. Dude, we could talk to Smiles for like hours.
Oh,
I
yeah.
swear.
100%.
I swear, man.
Yeah.
Ah, yes, man. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We had a great time. It's always a great time because we have awesome guests and we have awesome listeners. Man, without y'all, this wouldn't be anything. It would be exactly what we were talking about in the beginning, how we made it really for friends and family, but they don't listen anyway. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much, man. We really appreciate it. Thank you guys for helping us get to over 3,000 subs this past weekend.
Yeah.
That was absolutely incredible.
dude.
Ben and I would have never even thought 3,000 people would want to listen to us. And so that's just absolutely amazing. Thank you guys so much for the support. Most of all, though, definitely support your local people around you that are in the topic. If you're into the topic, that's what we're trying to do right now with Anomaly Archives. Like I said, I've said this quite a few times now tonight, but it's very important. I mean, it's just anything that you guys buy from us, we donate. When you help us, you actually are helping the community in a small way, because we're trying to help the community in a small way. And together, we can all help each other, man.
Together
So,
we win.
we win.
We win.
Yes, man. Yes. I love it. I love it. Hey, you got that funky music ready to
Swag.
go or what?
Swag.
I
Swag.
like it. I like it. Yeah. Ah. Tell me about it. Yeah. There we go.
UFO Garage.
That's what he said, and that's what we are. The UFO Garage. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Ben is absolutely feeling better. He is no longer sick. And you can tell by when he whips that hair back and forth. Whips the hair back and forth. Hey, this has been another episode of UFO Garage. Hey, man, we're going to talk to y'all on Tuesday, all right? So,
Shit, maybe even tomorrow, dude.
maybe even tomorrow. Y'all stay cool. We love you guys.
Hey, we love you guys.
We love you guys. That's right. This is normally where we end.
Yeah. Oh.
Hey,
All right.
we'll talk to y'all later, man. Love
All
y'all.
right.
Peace.
Goodbye.